Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 5th round of the Super Formula World Challenge for the SRS Motorsports League. I am your host and commentator for today's set of races, SC_RRDZ, and we are in for another cracking treat here of the Super Formula World Championship here at the Dragon Trail Seaside Circuit in good old, I believe it is Croatia, someone will have to correct me on that, but we're at it once again for another cracking round for the feature and sprint races here, and it's been a very, very interesting set of championship races for the past couple of days, both on and off the track. So once again, going at it again as per usual here. I am going to take the reins of the commentator's booth for today's race, and also, if you notice the title of the stream, and I believe James Hannon's corrected me on that in the Discord. Yeah, someone's going to have to correct me on that. Oh yeah, James. Sorry, my apologies, James. That will be corrected after the race. You notice the title of the stream. That's because we're not going to just do one set of races for commentary. We are going to go back in time to the 3rd round at Fuji and commentate over the race replays for that. And unfortunately, we don't have qualifying results for that race, but we will get all the action here today for Dragon Trail Seaside, which is on a live feed. Oh, Dudley! Oh, pushing that Repsol sponsored Super Formula machine to its limits, and as you can see, caught onto the gravel, and the car just sent across the track into the driver's right-hand side wall. And as you can see, Dudley, one of the fiercest, quickest competitors that we've had in SRS, an American driver, but of course he's got nothing to leave on the table here. Gonna make it very, very feisty indeed, as we'll take a look at the championship standings at the moment here, as if I can pull them up. There we go. That is the championship results on my screen right there. Of course, Dudley now taking the lead of the champion. Oh, I'm sorry, it's round 3 and round 4. My apologies, James. I'm already having a really terrible job already this afternoon, and so that will have to be corrected, of course. So, not even halfway through the season, and it's going to get very feisty indeed, as like I said. Of course, a couple of drivers already setting the pace before qualifying is going to go underway. Of course, won't spoil anything for the championship at Fuji, but I will go through the championship standings once we have those. Of course, those championship standings will be unveiled after Fuji, unless you want me to spoil the surprises for a lot of drivers, of course. But I don't think anyone would want to be too spoiled and not watch the race. But so I'm gonna keep my mouth shut for once about the championship standings. We're gonna go down the field right now. It is currently the Italian for SideMax Motorworks, Marcello, in the number 5 Super Formula for the SideMax Motorworks team. A very, very respected team in the upcoming world of esports. Fastest time right now for the Italian, a 1:21.183 around this Dragon Trail Seaside circuit. Then it is the 13 of Doug Barrow for the Costa Racing by SDM team in the number 13 Super Formula, and he is putting on a very cracking show. Of course, he had a really strong showing the last time I was in the booth here at Red Bull Ring, and unfortunately just caught around from him a little bit too late in the feature and way too early in the sprint to make up any noticeable ground there. So we're hoping that he'll bounce it right on back in Fuji, and I haven't even gotten a chance to watch it as he sets the fastest time with a 1:27.840. What a stunning lap for the great Brit. The old-timer, of course. He might be the old-timer, but of course he's showing that pace in that number 13 Super Formula machine. Dudley now, I think, popping it back into second place. Yes, indeed, with a 1:21.168, just barely eclipsing Marcello's 1:21.183. Then there is the Dutchman, Shadow, in the number 68 Super Formula. And Shadow has been on an absolute tear since he's ever joined the SRS Motorsports League in that Honda. And, of course, since joining the SideMax crew, he has been nothing less than an absolutely furious driver on the track, and he's got nothing to leave on the table, just like Dudley as well. There is the man behind the mic in a couple of SRS events. Of course, me and him balancing the commentators' action here. Oh, as he puts in the wall, he's put it around. Oh, James, what are you doing, mate? As soon as I tune into you, you're supposed to be keeping the car on the track, man. Oh, and he's gone back to the pits. You can never trust a man entirely, so. And so there is Splash in the 11, of course, for the Speed Demon Motorsports crew. One of my drivers in my team, very fast in the Grand Touring ranks, but in the open wheel side of things, of course, he has had a mountain to climb in that 11 Neurofunk sponsored machine. And of course, now taking the lead of the SDM Charge. And so we're looking to see what he's got on the table for today's running as he works back to the pits. There is going to be the 69 of Hairraiser, of course, teammate to Doug in that second Costa Racing by SDM machine right there. And we're looking to get very feisty once again as he sets a faster time by 3/10 and a little bit more of 1:28.592. So within that second of his teammate, of Doug, just a little ways up the field. But of course, I expect him to be right up there in the mix of things as well. There is the 44 of Petrolhead, as Jack Mia, of course, finally leaves the room. Petrolhead in currently with a 1:29.050, so there's definitely a bit of a performance deficit, to say the least. And so we're going to see who can put it all down on the table. I don't think we have a packed house. We were expecting a fair bit amount more drivers. I think Barr said he was going to be out for the day due to existing work commitments for the time being, and I think we're expecting Superhero to join the party as well. I'm not sure if C-Mac or Gamer Coxie or Olive is going to be able to join. I think we're also expecting Tap in the pits as well. I guess you could see him sitting in the pits right now. So I think we're only expecting 9 cars on track at the moment. Yeah, so it is round 4. My apologies there. I will get that fixed when I do get the chance. One of the cars coming out of the pits at the moment. That is going to be the number 5 of Martello. It is indeed. So going back out once again. And so just getting things started a little bit early before we go to qualifying. A 10-minute qualifying session here is Marcello. Oh, you got to keep that car on the track because you can see there on the left-hand side, those tires extremely dirty that are moving at lightning pace. And they do the work to get these cars driving such an incredibly high speeds here. And this section, middle section right here, very downforce dependent here. We're going to take a board, we're going to go on board with one of the drivers and see if we're able to get an onboard lap of what it is like for this Driving Control Seaside ticket from the driver's cockpit view. I'm going to take a moment to appreciate Dudley, of course, one of the new faces in the SRS, but already making a statement by being one of the top performing drivers in this session. James had giving the nod, everybody ready for 10 minutes of qualifying. So I think we're expecting a little bit less of a head count here today. I will go back and take a look and see what's going on. I'm going to update mine just to be on the safe side. Yeah, we're expecting up to 9 people. James Head, Shadow, Splash, Gearhead, C. Buckley, Razor, Doug, Marcello, and Nipat. I think we were expecting Superhero to join in. Who are we not expecting? We're not expecting Viper, Barr, CNEC, and Olive. Okay, so they did confirm their intentions to not race today. Excuse me about that. And so Dudley now right behind Splash. And so you can just see now as Dudley now having to chase down on the number 11. Of course, my league race that was expecting to go ahead as planned, of course, postponed today so that I can be able to commentate, but which means that that race might be having to go ahead for next week so that we can be able to ring out the championship in that league as well. And you can just see right through here through this depth chicane, flat out, Oh, you can take it very aggressively indeed. So still a lot of room for error there, which is really a good thing. And so I expect qualifying to be started up here real shortly. But before we do that, in the case that it does, we're going to go on board for a lap here with Dudley, one of the quickest drivers here in this SRS paddock right now. Comes through in 4th gear over the start finish line into 5th. Now the start of the lap on gear number 5. As you go into 6th gear for this very tight first chicane. It's going to redline the car, braking just a little over past the 100-meter board. Very aggressive into the chicane. Oh, I think it took a bit more curbing though than he was kind of expecting it to. Up in the 4th gear, this double right-hander now going through in the 5th gear, flat out, really hard on the brakes, very late on the brakes, and then using as much curbing as you can to conclude the first sector of the Dragon Trail Seaside Circuit here. Purple sector up by just under 2/10 now. Now this S section, very downforce dependent here in this second sector here with these S's that I think that give the Seaside name its tried and true tested name. Then this downhill section towards the ocean, braking just over the 100-meter board. The commitment these drivers had is nothing short of what is expected on the grass and on the curves. My apologies there, as James said, does start qualifying, so we're not going to see the whole lap 100%, but we will get that for you for a good idea of what's expected to come in this 10-minute qualifying session. Now 10 minutes on the clock, and 9 drivers here will take to the start of this grid. And you can just hear the roaring engine of those Super Formula machines. Now that is the Toyota. So there are 2 different engine types. There are 2 different manufacturers that do partake in the Super Formula World Championship as well as in real life. That would be the Toyota that you see James there as well. And I believe that right there behind is also a Toyota for Doug Barrow. So we're going to go down the field here. So there is one of the Hondas in the Fuji Motorsports camp, the number 11 for Splash, as he pulls off to let Marcello on by, of course, and then having to scoot right back in line. I can tell this is going to be very slipstream dependent here. Everyone wants to get every single bit of advantage that they can get in these Super Formulas. Even if it's a little bit of slipstream, they want to be able to make sure that they are getting the fastest time here around this Dragon Trail Seaside Circuit. One of the bigger questions is, who is going to be the one that will make that all-important mistake in the death chicane and bite the bullet and lose so much time in that death chicane? That chicane really takes no prisoners as Marcello scraping the wall a little bit. My goodness me. I think I do need a little bit of water before having to submit myself for another crazy and exciting round of the SRS Motorsports Championship, as Marcello now letting these guys on by. As James said, now the first one to come on through, using a little bit of overtake to get the party started here for the first of many qualifying laps to come, with Doug Barrow not that far off as well. He's going to be in the slipstream range as well. And someone's gone around. Is that Petrolhead? That is indeed Petrolhead, who has spun the car. We're going to see if we can get a replay on that just to figure out what has happened here. Side by side with Taft here on the understeer. Yep, full throttle, and yep. Oh, he's actually hit Taft. Wow, that was a big hit. That was indeed a big hit. And Petrol has got the car running, but that is not what you want to see happen here for the first bit of this qualifying session. So Petrol now has got 1 lap less to make a flying qualifying lap here at Dragon Trail. We'll turn our eyes back up to the front of the field. There's still James Head coming through the second sector down to the ocean. This very tight right-hander, one of the tightest on the circuits, if not the tightest. And then it's a double right. It's a tight right-hander that leads into a little sweeping right-hander. Then through this very tight chicane right here. Look at that right there. No, absolutely no room for error. James using a little bit of overtake right there on this flying lap, using a bit more overtake right there just to try and get more power into that Super Formula Toyota engine. Coming through the final corner now for the first of many flying laps to come, as well as Doug Barrow right behind, using a little bit more overtake to get out of the corner now. Has someone had another incident further back? So we're going to find out about that later. James Head with a 128.388, Doug Barrow with a 128.768 to start things off here. Splash could be the third one to come on through with a 128.596. Shadow has had a slower lap with a 30.4. Marcello with a 28.851. Dudley with a 130 slower lap for him. Tap and Razor both in the 29. So very slow lap times for a lot of these guys guys. James Head's the first one to really set the pace now in that number 7 Toyota Super Formula machine. And he's doing a very cracking job here for himself. Petrolhead with a 136.65. We kind of expected that to be a slower lap. Shadow now behind the number 11, trying to get a little bit of slipstream. Splash now on a purple sector, so he's definitely going to be up this time by, and I imagine Shadow is going to be as well in that slipstream. So we're going to take an onboard look now with Shadow, just to see if that slipstream is very much helping him out. It's helping him out a lot. Is he going to try and make the dive under the inside to get by? Oh, and this is what Splash definitely doesn't need. We're going to keep an eye out for this. Not even a whole lot of room. Gotta keep it clean right there. I'm not sure if Splash wanted that to have happen. Shadow now 7/10 up purple. This is going to be an absolutely flying lap from the Dutchman. Oh, and Splash nowhere to go. Oh, and he's got held up. That is not what Splash wanted. He wants purple sector. So there's definitely room in the tank left for that car to be a little bit faster. But Shadow is going to be on a flying lap here for this second flying lap, and we're not even halfway through the section, so a lot of time left on the board, and it is going to be a whopping 27.7, 6/10, and a little more up on James, and what a cracking lap that is for the number 68 machine right there. Looks like Dudley and Tap and Razor all improving their times. Dudley down in 6th, so I kind of expected him to be up the field a little bit more. What's going on with Dudley? He's actually giving Marcello the slipstream. That's something he doesn't want right there. Petrolhead now down still in 9th place, so with a time left in that car as well. Top 4 now with an 8/10 of a second now. Marcello now up into 3rd place with a 128.423. So that slipstream helping out a lot of these Cymax guys. And this is kind of what they wanted. They wanted to get that little extra slip in the air to get as much as they can on the board. Dudley now giving him that, and is he going to let him by? He will, as a matter of fact, realizing, now I don't want him to get thrown off the field, and I know he's got pace, so I'm going to see if I can try and get behind and still get a little bit of that slipstream. Marcello now actually down 2.4 seconds as he had a moment somewhere on this flying lap. We'll turn our eyes back to James Head at the front of the field now, the number 7 sitting in 2nd place. 6/10 behind. Oh, exploring the track limits a little bit, and I think he might have got himself a little bit screwy right there. Shadow now coming through the final corner. What's he got in the tank? Clearly not going to beat this time by. Splash with a 27.7, 38 thousandths of a second behind Shadow. What on the performance for the Lithuanian driver. Of course, flag is a great Brit, but with that flag on the back, definitely with that Lithuanian pride and spirit. My God, I'm losing my words already in here. Marcello now going to make the pit out for some fresh Yokohama rubber on that number 5 Cymax Motorsports machine. Petrolhead still down in 9th place with a 29.1. So, and Tap's not even that far off of him as well. Dudley in 7th place. What is going on with Dudley at the moment? So this is going to be very interesting for the number 12. Dudley, I think he knows he has pace in that machine. He's not even used to overtake. Maybe he's saving up for that all-important lap, that final lap here, to see if he can get something out of that number 12. What's the situation with the number 13? Is Doug Barrow really pushing that number 13 machine around? Petrolhead actually improved to 6th. Petrolhead up into 6th place. I haven't even had a chance to see that. What a stunning lap for Petrolhead to get closer up, but 9 thousandths ahead of Dudley. As James Head in the 7 coming into the pit lane to get some fresh rubber on that Super Formula machine. Fresh set of Yokohamas, as well as Shadow. So what's Splash going to be doing here? He's going to go for another lap. It's going to be close. Tap with a 29.1, so he does improve. Hair Razor now does improve as well, but not enough to improve yet again. Tap, oh, that has got to be close, and indeed it is. Oh, Dudley, man, Dudley in a really, really fine sandwich right now. 9 thousandths ahead of him, and 9 thousandths behind him as well. This is an extremely close mid to back field. And so the big question now, Marcello now on those fresh rubber. A lot of overtake left. Going to save it for that all-important final lap. And this is going to be a feisty showing indeed. Man, Tice in the chat saying that James is going to win, and then he immediately takes that prediction back. Man, Tice, you gotta say something, then you have to take it on back. But welcome out to the stream, Tice. I imagine Paula and Sharon, of course, watching the stream as well. It's going to be a very cracking one indeed. Marcello only 35 thousandths behind James says, so he's got a little bit of time left to find. He's actually 4/10 down this time by Doug Barrow to the top of the field. Where has he come with that time? 7/10 up. What a stunning lap for the 13. My goodness me, this is going to be an absolutely crazy. Where has Razor come from? My word! My word! So after basically being nowhere in the session, Costa boys have come to life. And yeah, Tice, agreed there. Everyone's going to use their overtake now to really get that most important laps. And so Splash now using the overtake this time by what's going on with Shadow here as he comes through the first sector, using that overtake now. And is he going to be on a purple sector? Man, right now with looking at the 26s now, man, what a cracking performance here for Shadow in that number 68. He is just holding on to that overtake button for his life right now. And this is going to be an absolutely cracking qualifying lap here. Pole position is going to be very much for granted. Dudley now, is he using that overtake? He is indeed, so he's going to use all of that extra boost to get as much as he can. If you already used your overtake up before the lap, you are going to be down. Absolutely indeed. 5/10 now, Dudley. There's going to be a lot of braking laps here for the session. Doug Barrow now coming to the line. Razor going to be the next one up. Someone else has finished as well. Razor and Tap now. Razor knowing he's fairly happy with that, as well as Doug Barrow. James Head coming to the line. Is it going to be a faster lap? It will be, but not enough for pole. Third place it will be for James, as Shadow now takes back pole position with a 26.401. Where is going to be Dudley? He's coming across the line now. It's Marcello up into pole position, but what's it going to be for Dudley? Back up into third place. Marcello with a 26.256, and Cymax in their prime, putting it back up. And Petrolhead now coming to the final corner now. Can he throw a spoil out there? It's going to be a faster lap. Good enough for fifth place. And Splash, who was in a really good position, but all of a sudden down to 8th place. My word indeed. Qualifying even throwing me off guard as well. Cymax with that 1-2 as expected, with Marcello up in front and Shadow in second place. Dudley and Doug make up the second row with Petrol and Razor in 5th and 6th. James Head and Splash, the top two that I thought were going to be up there in 7th and 8th, and Tap rounding out this 9-car grid here for the feature. Right, so the 5 red lights about to come on, as you can see right there at the top of your screen. And so now when did they go out? And it's lights out, and away we go. Sorry to steal the most important words of Formula One, Crofty, but I had to say it out there as well as we go. Gonna back on out of the stream, and now, Marcello now gonna lead them off going into turn number 1, the most feisty of them all. You don't win in the first corner. Is there going to be a bit of argy-barginess? And there's going to be a little bit from Petrolhead, but he kept it clean in fending off Hair Razor. Oh, and Tap! Big sideways moment. A Splash now up into 6th place as the Cymax crew showing their muscle, and they are just gone, and that is making the manager Tice happy indeed, as well as the Cymax crew as well. Dudley up into 4th place. Doug Barrow with a great start now up into 3rd place. Not going to let the Cymax crew get away with this easy-handed as well in this 30-minute feature. Using a little bit of overtake now to try and get away from those behind him as well. Dudley not using any of that overtake. Will that be something of use for later in this race? Is going to be an interesting thing as well. Mandatory pit stop will be having to be used up in this race at least one time in this race, but who is going to be the one that will have to go through the death chicane? We're going to ride on board with the old-timer Doug Barrow as he comes through that death chicane for the first time. looking at the back of Shadow, and Shadow, of course, not making that any difficult, of course, but Dudley not that far up behind as well. He knows that Shadow gonna save up that overtake for later bits in this race. As Dudley, Dudley was a little bit optimistic. Really close there from Dudley. We're going to take a look at this again from aboard the number 12. He thought he saw a gap right there. Let's just see how quick that wheel was turning. Not a whole lot than I was expecting it to, but a good effort nonetheless from the 12, the American of Dudley. Splash now up into 5th place. What a first lap he has had to make up 3 positions in the first lap. In that number 11 for Fuji Motorsports. Oh, and James Head's going a little bit wide, and he's going to lose out that 8th position. And James Head was kind of expecting this to go a little bit better, but I don't think he was kind of expecting it to go the way it is right now. Shadow now getting back up past Doug Barrow for 2nd place. Dudley not that far off as well. And while these two continue to fight, it's going to allow the number 5 of Marcello to continue to take that lead. Go on, Marcello, says Ty's trying to mock me a little bit. Want to know how the overtake works best? Please entertain us in the comment section, Ty's, on the live stream chat, just so I get to know a little bit more. 3 wide going down towards the ocean at the end of sector 2. Of course, Dudley having to back out of that one. Dudley having to take a wider line, of course, but these two nose to tail to nose to tail. It is going to be an absolutely fighting fest here today at Dragon Trail. This is the kind of racing that I expected to see from a fine class of drivers. Oh, no one, I thought Shadow took it a little bit too deep now as Doug Barrow makes the move, and is Dudley going to think about making a move as well? No overtake being used by that number 13. Dudley's going to try and think about making a move onto the inside. Oh, and there might be a little bit of argy-bargy between the two, and Dudley trying to make it 3 wide, and he might have done the move, and this is going to be an abs. That was a class pass there by Dudley in the number 12, but he's got one more car to make it. I thought I would have gone absolutely ballistic had Dudley made the 2-move pass on both drivers. A Shadow now defending to the inside is Doug Barrow now. Oh, he was looking at it. He's going to get that pass decision back. Doug Barrow not having any of that. Oh, the Shadow! He has gone around, and the pole sitter has gone around out of 2nd place. What has happened to the number 68? Oh, it was that curbing that set him ablaze, and that is massively bad news for the Simax crew. Have done superbly well, and Shadow losing a tremendous amount of time out of 2nd place. He was doing absolutely well, and now it is comeback time for the Simax crew. You don't normally see a mistake out of Shadow. Some are going to say justice served, some are going to say unfortunate luck, but I think that was just Shadow trying to defend as much as he can, and you can't really place much blame on him for that as well. Now this 3-horse race for 2nd is becoming to a 2-horse race, and look at Razor now up into 4th place, trying to get this mid-pack to join the party up for 2nd and 3rd. Oh, and I think that was Splash. Yeah, that was Splash a little bit, having a little bit of a fun time out there in 7th place as well. This is an absolutely close field, and Razor going a bit too deep into the braking zone right there. James Head now back up into 5th place, maybe even making it up from 4th place as well. Dudley and Doug Barrow side by side. This is absolutely class stuff in the SRS Motorsports paddock right there. Oh my word, indeed, this is... And we're not even 5 minutes into this race. This is absolutely chaotic stuff now. Dudley and Doug Barrow, easy move there for Doug Barrow for 2nd place there, keeping it clean between these two guys, but the midfield absolutely on fire, trying to get onto the back of that slipstream right there as Tappas falling back a little bit as well. This is an absolutely crazy race here indeed for this race. Oh my god, we're just only 5 minutes in. Oh my goodness me. James, I don't know how you do this, but this is absolutely insane stuff right there. As Dudley now tries to make a move again on Doug Barrow. Dudley going to make the move down to the inside. Doug Barrow, he's going to not have any of that, but an easy move for Doug Barrow. These two giving each other plenty of space, and Dudley now going to make it not so difficult, maybe a little bit difficult. He seems to go side by side with the next chicane. Oh, Doug Barrow, I think there was a little bit of a tap right there. These two keeping it clean, which is the good part. Oh man, these two not even that far off. They're definitely within slipstream range. James Head trying to use that overtake to try and join the party, make this a 6-car battle as Razor now defends and goes onto the inside, and he's going to make that move very, very easy now. Side by side is Petrol on Splash and Razor on James. This is absolutely insane stuff now. Dudley once again coming back at Doug Barrow for 2nd place as these two, as Marcello now has pretty much just cleared off, just going to take an easy win here for now. And I don't want to give them the commentator's curses. I have done it past seasons of league racing with these group of guys. Oh, man. Oh, my word indeed. So I'm going to take a break from the action on track and take a little bit of time. We're going to go on board now with Doug Barrow in the number 13. Ty's now with the chat in the chat saying, so with the overtake, you want to use as little possible at the start. Then the last few laps, no one around has overtaken left, and you can drain the battery and they can't fight you. That is absolutely the strategy that we have seen in past Super Formula rounds, especially at Rebel Ring in the case with Shadow, and that has paid off extremely, extremely well. And Ty's saying, WTF was that? I have absolutely no idea, mate. I am just having an absolutely cracking time here in the commentary booth. And I'm even on the edge of my seat, and we're not even halfway through this race. We still got the mandatory stuff. We got the second half of this feature, and then we also got the sprint as well. And we got even more action as well. Ladies and gentlemen, after this race, we will be turning our attention to the previously broadcasted feed from Fuji for the third round. And I have corrected myself as Dudley, I think, was going a little bit slow out of that final corner, and it's allowing Doug Barrow to take an opportunity to go out for second place here. James and Petrolhead side by side. Petrolhead has done a cracking job to get back into the main fray of this fight. And my word, James had a little bit under the dirt, but nothing's going to spoil his spirits to keep that position as Petrolhead goes down to the inside, but James Head has the inside back. These two side by side throughout the majority of the first sector, and James Head definitely got the inside line here. A splash now onto the back of this pack. And James Head has absolutely brought this pack back up to second and third. And this might even pay into the weight of Tap and even Shadow as well, as these two continue to fight out so much into this race here. This has been an absolutely insane race. I'm going to flip the camera feed a little bit as well to give you guys a different spectrum of this live feed here. I'm going to be honest with you right now. It is very unorthodox for a race, any race that I've commented on, to give me an absolute crazy migraine. I've only been in the commentator's box for about, I'm going to say less than 10 minutes, and I have got a massive migraine off the bat. So not what I've needed for the start of this race, but absolutely gets absolutely crazy thing. Ties with the manager strategy. Shadow, let's get the reverse pull. Yeah, Shadow, you don't have to get these points in the feature. You can just get the sprint race points, so you can definitely do with that as well. Splash now actually was the fastest lap of this race, the 1:27.926. So that's going to be an extra bonus point for Splash and that number 11 Honda SDM machine right there. And I think James, and I think there was a little bit of argy-bargy for Petrolhead, and Splash now is going to try and make the move back up, and that's a lot. And I think James realizing that was a little bit of an argy-bargy pass. He didn't want to take that over. He didn't want to make that pass like a Max Verstappen here today, making it a little bit argy-bargy, maybe off the track. So he left that position on by. Very good sportsmanship from the number 7 of James Head. And while they're continuing to fight it out back there, it's allowing Doug Barrow and Dudley once again to really have a fine scrap up for second and third place. Man, I'll tell you what, if these drivers make it onto the podium, it is going to be an absolutely electric interviews here today after this feature race. And I can't even imagine what the sprint is even going to be like after this race. Now, Doug Barrow now just a little bit up on his time right now. Dudley has a lot of overtake compared to Doug Barrow. He's got like a quarter more than what Doug Barrow has, trying to use a little bit more overtake, but I don't think that's what the strategy that Doug wants in this race. Petrolhead and James, with Splash not that far off, as well as Razor, still keeping him honest. And this is very crucial points as Petrolhead goes onto the grass, Splash having to take evasive action, and is there a little bit of and no, I thought someone was going to come into the pits now. Petrolhead having to take a avoidance action. Splash now not giving Petrol any bit of that slip. Going to go onto the inside here indeed. Splash keeping the door open. Is he going to keep it? No. Petrol has thought about it twice and not going to make that move as is. James Head now back down to 7th place. Man, this mid-peel pack, extremely, extremely competitive. Tyson now saying the sprint is going to be a carnage. I can't even imagine what the sprint race is going to be like here. And we're not even halfway through this feature, and it has been absolutely electrifying. This is the type of racing that I love to see. Of course, Not a whole lot of argy-barginess, a little bit there, but as long as the drivers all have a good time and everyone's having fun, that's the most important thing in the set of races now. As Doug Barrow and Dudley getting feisty once again, as Dudley has got the inside line for this next up-and-coming corner at the end of the second sector here. Oh, and I think Doug Barrow turned on him a little bit, trying to defend on that corner, even on the outside, side by side, and I think Doug is going to get that position back. And my word, I'd have been too wide through that dash chicane. I would have gone absolutely mental indeed. Doug Barrow now defending onto the inside. Dudley now taking it back out to the outside. And Dudley has not even let any bit of these guys just really get, to his skin now. Martello now, we haven't had a bit of track time with him now. 8-second lead now over this pack. 127.765. He's got all the clean air in the world and can pretty much just make this require a pit stop whenever he feels like it at this rate, because the pack behind are just absolutely fighting with each other so hard that it's making it difficult for these guys to really try and get back up into this race now. Splash now up into 4th place. So the mad Lithuanian doing an absolutely fine job indeed here in these silver, red, and black. This new wave of Fuji Motorsports lineup of vehicles, ranging from mostly the Grand Touring GT3s with the Mercedes AMG program that they've got going on, the Mazdas, and then a couple other vehicles as well, including the Virtual Reality Racing Super Cup and Le Mans Cup programs that they've got going on as well. And now recently as and I think that was a little bit of a tap there from James. I'm not sure if James got a little bit too hot into there. He's got that 5th place position, but going back to Splash a little bit as well, as recently as SDM expanding into the Super Formula World Championship here in the SRS paddock. They've been a long name-standing name here in the SRS paddock. And so James Head going to make that move down into 4th place. Splash knows that move is inedible. He's going to let him get it on by, but I think he knows he's going to get it on back later. James Head, what's happened to James Head? And he's gone off! James Head with a big moment, he spun it around! Oh my word, James! Oh no! So what's happened to James? Was it that same curve? Yeah, it was the curve. The car just completely bottomed out, getting a little bit throttle. Oh, and it's just spun the car around. The tires were dirty. And my word, unfortunately, bad luck for James. As Shadow's actually come into the pits. James had with a little bit of front end damage on that machine. Ty's paying F to pay respects in the chat. And that's allowed Tap to move up into 7th place in another Costa Racing machine, the 34. Splash and Petrol now going at it. This front pack now has broken up significantly now into Left Patrol Head and Splash to go at it again as well. I don't think Splash had a play in that incident with James, so... But my word indeed. Oh, and Petrol Head! Oh, an evasive action by Splash! Oh my goodness gracious me! We're going to take a look at this again as well. Splash now has had Splash has just had his hands full for the entirety of this race. Oh my word indeed. Splash, buddy. Absolutely fine driver out of Lithuania. One of the finest indeed. Anyone going to come into the pits this time by? I don't think so. That's actually going to be Razor who will come into the pits this time by for his mandatory pit stop, making it the halfway point of this race. Ty saying James got the win confirmed. Yeah, fam. Sure. Yeah, you said it. You said it yourself, mate. You knew you're taking that bag, so... You thought it was going to happen, but unfortunately it just did not happen. James had also into the pits as well with a lot less fuel than the 69 of Razor, who's just left pit lane now. And Shadow now is going to come. And what's happened to Dudley? What's happened to Dudley? Oh, what has happened there? What has happened to Dudley? Hang on, we're going to get another look at this one. We're going to see what's going on here. Yeah, I think Doug just took it a little bit too deep into the corner. So I think that one for sure is definitely going to be investigated. Doug has given the position back, so Dudley now ahead, but man, that has ruined the battle for those guys. That was actually going an extremely well battle. I may have even commentator cursed both of those guys as well on the commentator's booth as well. So But my oh my indeed. Shadow now back up into 8th place ahead of James with that one incident for James. Razor not that far off ahead of Shadow. Shadow having to make a little bit of comeback recovery as well. And this has allowed Splash to come up into 2nd place, but he's gone onto the grass as well, a little bit as well. And Petrolhead now coming up in through to 3rd place. This might be an absolute miracle for Petrolhead in that in that 3rd place machine. Dudley now not backing down without a fight. He knows he's worked hard for that podium spot, and he would love to end up on that podium spot as well. Marcello now with a 13-second lead. Mate, you can just, you don't even need to use the overtake button at this rate. You can just kind of coast the car at your own will. Splash now up into 2nd place. Of course, with the incidents that have been happening on the track, Splash absolutely keeping the nose clean and doing it extremely superbly indeed. So the big question now is who's going to come in for that all-important mandatory pit stop within the next couple of laps. You only got one pit stop to make, and this is going to throw around the strategy very, very much so. Has Shadow even come in for that mandatory lap? I believe he has, given that 140 pit lane delta time. No, sir, I do not want to speak to you at the moment. Please go away on my Apple Watch. Martella now coming through once again at the end of this 12th lap. Staying out. Ty's thinking Marcello is going to go long as well. Ty, so you're just saying that now, or have you discussed this before the race? Be honest with me, Ty. Was that something that you guys discussed before the race, or... No, I'm just messing around with you, mate. I believe that you're thinking Marcello's going to go wrong. Yeah, I think it's... And it kind of comes down to the driver's strategy as well, and some aspect as well, because they have full control of that machine now. Tap now going to come out of 6th place into the pit lane. So what's going to go on with those guys as well? Sharon Palmer, welcome to the chat. Hello, it is good to see you once again. Of course, I imagine Palmer very busy in tuning into this stream as well. No, I wasn't involved in strategies this week. Sorry, I was throwing out a little bit of sarcasm with there as well, so nothing too major. So just wanted to mess with you a little bit as well. Usually I am, but not this week. I imagine school ties taking up a majority of your time, unfortunately. Completely understandable. Of course, me being in school, I got my next set of classes chosen for university, so going on for semester number 9. Of course, the summer break. Ah, man, it can't come soon enough, can it now? So very excited for that now. Petrolhead and Dudley now making a move back up into the podium spot, exactly where he wanted it to be, which is a very good thing for Dudley. But these top guys have all got to make their top stops. Razor, the first one out on track to make his mandatory stop. So this top 5 all have to make their stop. Marcello still out on track. Sharon saying hello, Tyson. Hello, Trevor. Good to see you again, Palmer. I hope. Of course, I raced him with his son last night in the Super Cup Series. Of course, getting a podium and the sprint race win. He's got to be an absolutely ballistic man about getting that important one as well. Of course, Palmer, of course, being a very good mainstay representing Cymax and himself in the VRR, of course, very, very quick driver as well and off the track. Martella making me very proud here. Of course, Ty being one of the managers, I think the manager for their GT Sport division, if I'm not mistaken. Of course, very, very talented driver is Marcello. And of course, Shadow now down to 7th place. Of course, Ty, of course, I've got the privilege to know him a long time in, of course, another undisclosed league, of course, but we won't go there further much. And of course, extending that relationship here into the SRS Motorsports League. And of course, Ty's now one of the most fine individuals and finer men. Yeah, I am the only manager for GTS. Very good namesake to have, of course. I've always had the question if Cymax even pay you for all this as well. That's my big question as well. So, but I've been a little reluctant to ask that question, unfortunately. So, right. So, Doug Barrow, of course, a little ways behind as well, has Shadow. I thought there was a change of position. I'm not too sure if there was. And I think Dudley gone back up into 2nd place. Has Dudley made the move? Dudley going to come into the pits for his mandatory stop. And Splash is going to stay out. Petrol is going to come in as well as Doug Barrow. So Splash going a little bit longer, thinking he's got the pace in that number 11 machine. Dudley has had a very busy day indeed here for this race. And Petrol is actually beating him out. So Petrol getting the advantage in this pit crew and has beaten the number 12 out of the pit lane. Shadow now in the fray of this, and he's not even entirely out of it with his pace. And this is going to be absolutely electric indeed. And Shadow now beginning to use that overtake now. He's going to make the move on here. Razor, can he make it stick indeed? And he will do so. Oh, Razor. Oh, he was trying to fight that back a little bit as well. Razor, not a lot of overtake, but Shadow has got a lot of overtake. A lot of overtake indeed in that machine. Petrol and Dudley now going to be squaring it off for the final spot on the podium. It's going to be musical chairs until this is all over. I don't want to go into contract things, man. Times, I know, I bet you wouldn't. I bet it's all confidential indeed, but I'm not going to go further in there as well. So Shadow go on lad. Tice now absolutely mega team support right now from Tice. Tice, you have got to be on the absolute edge of your seat watching this right now, I imagine. But this is all far from over. Of course, Shadow getting it back up into the top 5 after that crucial spin early on into this race. This is all set and done here from the beginning of this race. Now Shadow making the move on Petrolhead in that number 44 machine, going towards the final corner. Razor having a look from behind. Petrolhead, what's he going to do to defend that position? Not a whole lot. And Shadow making a very, very easy pass on that number 44 machine. And now all eyes are set on the number 12 machine of Dudley in that orange Repsol machine. And that Honda, of course, is going to be on absolute fumes here. And I believe the Cymax. Oh, a little bit of argy-bargy. That's what you have to be careful with. Shadow, man, you got to be careful with the knowing who's on the either side of the car. Petrolhead. Oh! Petrol, how did you not spin that out? Holy moly, mate. Oh, my goodness me. Tice just hanging back right now. Have been really busy this week, so I'm just resting. Tice, man, I've got to do something to get you on the edge of this seat, man. We got 7 minutes left into this race. And Splash and Marcello, of course, way out there in the front. And it's going to be all to play for here. Marcello now still hanging out. I think he's going to wait till the final lap of this race. He can pretty much just pit, he can just pit now and still come out ahead of Splash. Splash about 16.5 seconds ahead of the guys behind. Is he going to come into the pits? Yes, he will. So the Lithuanian in the number 11 for Speed Demon Motorsports going to come into the pit lane for his mandatory stop. The black and red, of course, showing the Neuropunk colors on the side of that machine. And of course, this crew on the Michelin compounded tires. He's going to come out of the pack. Will he be able to hold on? Dudley is not that far behind. He's coming with a full steam ahead on the number 11. And Splash will keep that second place position. But the real big question is going to be, how long can he hold on to it for? These guys have really even overtake, really even fuel loads. Dudley with a little bit less. He has been absolutely driving the fumes out of that number 12 machine. And this is going to be an absolutely close race here indeed for the final 5 and a little bit more minutes of this feature race for the 4th round of the SRS Super Formula World Championship here at Dragon Trail Seaside. Marcello now with a 33-second gap. That lad can just pretty much just relax and not worry about a whole lot as well. Marcello should pit right around now, in my opinion, and your opinion is right. Swift, welcome to the chat, buddy. Has Shadow pitted? He has indeed pitted, but he had a spin earlier on, a very crucial spin, and now he has been pretty much just having to claw his way back up into this running, and he is not out of this running here. And so Marcello now coming out of the pit. Mate, you don't even have to worry about this man one bit as well. He can just pretty much just you know, it's a Sunday. You can just do your own thing, mate. Don't have to worry about a whole lot as well. OMG, I'm the future Seaman. You are absolutely indeed, Tice. I'm going to name you that in the SEM Discord after this race, so you better keep an eye out for that as well. But Swift, welcome out to the commentary. Of course, it's been a long while since I've seen you out in one of these streams. Of course, last time I saw you on the same track as me was the VRR Suzuka 1000 Masterclass race that you had there, and that one race as well. And then, of course, unfortunate that I wasn't able to be a part of it, the AXR 24 Hours of Nürburgring. Of course, the Cymax crew had to be absolutely electrified with their SBR side entry as well, winning that race as well. Marcello needs to watch out. He's not going to get overtaken. Mate, he's got 15 seconds. He's got nothing to fear. So, oh, what the heck? What's happened to Splash? What? What? What happened? What has happened to Splash? What happened? What? Oh, you absolutely cannot be serious right now. Oh, man. I think my heart just sank. I think my heart just sank for the SDM team just sinking their entry. Oh, my goodness me. And you can see the red on the top of the cars now. That overtake is completely almost gone off of Doug Barrow and James Head, but Splash now having to make up literally lost ground here in this running. Doug Barrow, Hair Raiser has ran out of overtake. Petrolhead has still got a sizable chunk of overtake right now. And who's got overtake still? It is going to be Shadow up into third place. So Shadow now has done the recovery. Ties again F with the pay respects to my team right there. My word indeed. Shadow now still got overtake. Dudley still got overtake. Marcello, the man hasn't even used any bit of overtake. The man doesn't even need overtake. To show his driving prowess, he can just do it without even that overtake system. Red light means less than 10% overtake. Thank you, Tice, for that important fact of the race. So not a whole lot of overtake with these cars as well. Petrolhead, less than 10%. Hair Raiser, you can see with no light on there, he is having zero, nada, not even a slither of overtake left in that boost system whatsoever now. But he's got to be reliant on that slipstream as well. Shadow and Dudley now, I think this might be for the championship lead that they are fighting it out for. So who's going to come out on top? Shadow, who we thought that was going to be out of this running. Marbello, what did I say? I say Marcello, not Marbello. Ties. Maybe it's my voice. Marcello now using that overtake button to just literally get that fastest flying lap. And I think Marcello is going to finish a lap behind because as it looks at the standings right now, Marcello is going to have all this time. And Dudley with a late pit stop! And so is Petrolhead! Oh my word indeed! And this is mega drama for these cars. A splash and dash, and Razor up into third, and Splash up into fourth. Oh my word indeed, and major championship drama here. Oh my goodness me, that is absolutely mega stuff. And Splash, who was down in 8th literally like a lap or two ago, is up into 4th place. Oh my goodness me, and that was something I didn't even consider, that they were going to run out of fuel in this 30-minute sprint, in this 30-minute feature. Oh my word, Dudley back into 6th place, James up into 5th, Petrol in 8th. Petrolhead has done absolutely magnificently well to get back up into the mainstay of the podium spots. And my word, it has come to light that he has not had the most luxurious time here indeed. Tice in the chat, WTF, how? I didn't know that could happen. I think Marcello and Shadow saw that coming, and they knew it was going to come as well. 125.378. And I'll tell you what right now, I don't think Shadow is even going to make this checkered flag. Actually, he might. He might. And this might be a smooth sailing finish for the Cymax crew. Oh, and Shadow trying to finish it. Razor will come home for 3rd place. A well and truly earned podium. Splash. Oh, and it's a drag race across the line. Who's going to get it? And it will be Splash over James Head and Dudley with the late drama coming through for 5th place. Doug Barrow and Petrolhead. I just said Doug Head. Doug Barrow and Petrolhead making up 7th and 8th, and tapping 9th. Marcello and Shadow. Literally the team cars. Shadow knows that he is just, he can just do his own thing. He can do his own thing, Shadow. Imagine if he spins it out right now. You know what, Shadow? I dare you to spin that thing out once again, because you can still keep 2nd place. I dare you. I dare you. I dare you to do it, Shadow. I dare you to do it. You have a glory lap. Yes, enjoy this glory lap. We're going to turn our eyes to the front of the field right there. He has led literally, I think, every single lap here today, not even a slither of being able to withstand or resist a challenge. It is going to be the man in the number 5 machine, Marcello, will take... We'll take the win here at Dragon Trail. Shadow coming home in the team number 68 with that mega spin, but he had drove his heart out to take second place. Oh, and that is going to be a hefty repair bill for that number 68 machine. I can tell the Cymax financial officers aren't going to be happy about that as well. Ty's extremely proud of that as well. But taking the win in the feature for round number 4 here, it is the Italian Marcello, pole position, fastest lap, clean race, and that all-elusive race win for the feature. Marcello ruining the pick. Keelan, welcome out to the chat. We are Shadow in the stream. I thought Marcello was going to do donuts. Marcello, if you are in the stream, mate, you can go out and do your donuts, mate. You can go out and do your donuts as well. We're going to save the replay of that as well, because I will definitely look back at what happened to Splash. But, race results-wise, congratulations to the Cymax crew on their elusive victory as well. And we're going to get the podium drivers as well. I think Dang it. So we're going to get the drivers into the party. I'm going to have to try this again as well. This is taking a lot longer than I was expecting it to, so... But no fear whatsoever. Who's SMM? Nah, I'm just kidding. And then the final driver of the podium. Gonna be good old Hair Razor. Gonna get all these drivers into the party chat. Where is Marcello? Is he doing his donuts? Oh, Marcello, buddy, you've let me down. Not doing any of the donuts whatsoever. We'll turn our eyes back to the top of the leaderboard here with Marcello taking the race win on a dominating fashion as well. Shadow in second place and Razor up into third place as well. And so I'm going to check the party chat. I'm thinking we're having a little bit of tough times. Yes, we do have all of our drivers in. I'm not sure why I'm getting any there's the notifications as well that we're getting our drivers into the chat as well. We're going to start off with the man in third place, Hair Razor in the 69 Razor. You were having an absolutely busy day out there on the track, and was even a podium even expecting on your cards here in this feature race today? Well, first, the Hair Razor, I do hope that you do get better from your illness, and of course, I don't think this is something that you were entirely expecting as well. Give us the rundown of the race. How did it go for you, and just give us a rundown of basically how you got up to third place, which was completely off the cards for you. Well, a good day for you Hair Raiser, I imagine Doug Barrow extremely delighted with your performance here today, even if there was a lot of incidents on the track, which I don't think happened a whole lot, but of course some people on the track will probably have to educate me a little bit on that as well, but of course that was an enjoyable race as well. So congratulations to you on your very well truly deserved podium, Razor. We'll turn our man into second place, the Spinella of the day today early on, but that didn't stop him from getting second place. Shadow, of course, taking the charge for the Sidemas crew, of course, with that early spin, but that did not stop you from getting a well and truly deserved second place. Tell us about the race today, Shadow.
Quite an eventual, no, I wanted to say eventual, but it was pretty boring actually, because after the spin I did not see anybody for quite a long time. I think it was only when I caught up with B8 UTAP where I thought like, okay, somebody to fight with, but then thought, wait, what if I go into the pits, like a massive undercut to other people and catch up with good lap times, free clean air. And then Dudley and the crew came back into the pits, and I was like, I'm not that far off. So then I catched up and overtook them.
Yeah, so it was a strong performance for you, Shadow. Of course, what were the emotions like when you spun out, when you thought it was all over? Basically, did this deter you in any way, shape, or form to try and get back up into a respectable second place like you did today?
I wasn't expecting to go back to second, but it did remind me a little bit of the race last week, because in turn 1 I got a little tap, I almost spun around and went from 11th to 3rd, so a little bit of a flashback, but it was quite good.
And so it was a good day for you, Shadow. Of course, I'm going to be watching over and commentating over those Fuji races as well after the Dragon Trail Seaside craziness all unfolds and finishes up in the sprint race. So a good day for you, Shadow, even though you have become all of a sudden Spinella to me in one foul swoop. But that doesn't stop you from performing on second places like you have done so today. And we'll finally turn our attention to the man, the myth, the Italian, Marcello. That was a Sunday drive for you, mate. Tell us about the race you had today.
It was a great race for me. Probably like the best I've driven in a long time. But I was quite lucky, I have to say, because obviously Shadow had a spin pretty early on, and then I believe it was Dudley, Hair Razor, Splash, and like these guys were really fighting for that second place. So I took that to my advantage, of course, and you know, because I had so much gap behind, I tried to extend the stint a little bit, so I had a bigger chance to get the fastest lap, which I believe I managed to get it at the end. But yeah, you know, it was a good drive, but I was lucky, I have to say.
Yeah, so it was a good day for you nonetheless, but what do you think, do you think the biggest thing that really led you on to pretty much just command the race and command the pace all around in this feature race was kind of the fact that everyone was kind of battling behind you and you pretty much just had clean air throughout? Do you think that was the deciding factor that let you take the key win in this victory in this feature race?
Definitely, yeah. I think that, you know, in the previous races, you know, I think I had some pretty good pace, not as much as here, but the fact that there was a lot of fighting, of course, obviously didn't help me to really show my true pace at times. So the fact that I started on pole, the fact that, you know, I managed to have a really good first couple of laps, that was really, you know, the key for me. So yeah, it was definitely the main factor today.
Yeah, so it was definitely a bit of an interesting, just, you know, casual Sunday drive for you. But the big question now is going to be, Marcello, you're starting from the back of the field now, and ain't going to be no Sunday drive this time by in the sprint. So what do you think the big strategy is going to be for the Sidemas crew here going into this possibly crazy and chaotic sprint race here at Dragon Trail?
Gonna send it.
gonna send it. Definitely gonna send it, but you know, reasonably send it. And but I mean, we're just gonna approach it normally. We're gonna, you know, try to, you know, do things together, and hopefully we can both move forward through the race. But you know, we're just gonna take our time and you know, do the moves when we need to, and yeah, you know, just do what we know to do.
Well, as long as everyone keeps their nose clean and no one's going off the track and no one's having a, you know what, after the race, then it's going to be all, yeah. Well, I wasn't going to say that, but you made me say it anyway, so there you go. Right, so, man, crazy race. Also, I'm seeing a couple people in the chat saying Federico Viviani saying Cello in the chat, and then Tice in the chat saying tell Marcello Tice that he is proud of you, Marcello, in every single bit of way whatsoever as well. The chat has just gone absolutely blown up here. Even though there's 9 people, you guys are absolutely mad lads for keeping the stream pretty active here as well. But ladies and gentlemen, of course, that was the feature race. Congratulations to all of our finishers, and congratulations to Razor, Shadow, and Marcello on that Sunday drive. But ain't going to be no Sunday drive in this sprint, to say the least. So, so we're going to let you guys form back up to your respective party chats, and we are going to about to get once again underway for literally back into it again for another 15 minutes of craziness. I'm gonna lose it, I swear to God. And then, ladies and gentlemen, just because we have one more sprint race to go, it doesn't mean we're gonna have to go turn back the time a little bit to go back to a race that we missed. That is right, because after this race, we are going to go back to Fuji and, of course, have a little bit of a fun time with that set of commentary of races as well. And I can't wait for that as well. Just double action on 2 sets of races here today. And it is going to be absolutely electrifying here, of course, the field, of course, being inverted for this sprint race. And so it's going to give those that were at the back of the pack a chance to shine at the front, and then those that had their Sunday drives a little bit of a bit more challenge, of course, because you don't want to you don't want a Sunday drive down in 9th place. And then for all of you that have kept the stream chat very active, I applaud every single one of you, because it's given me, you know, flipping me between the action, the stream, chat. It's just keeping me, you know, very busy, keeping my eyes laser focused. There is the start of the final now for this second race of the weekend. The sprint now, of course, going to be a 15-minute sprint. Of course, lots and lots of chaos here today. And I'm not saying that in a sarcastic manner, because I think this race is going to be absolutely crazy indeed. Of course, Petrolhead and Doug Barrow making up the front row, with Dudley, James, and Splash in the top 5. Razor, Shadow, and Marcello, and then Tap now taking up 9th place. Is it that you invert the top 8 of the field? I might be mistaken. Someone will have to correct me on that as well. Once again, 5 red lights about to pop on up for the second race of the weekend in this 15-minute sprint. Actually, no, it's a 20-minute sprint. What am I saying? It is green flags ablaze, and Doug Barrow with a great start, and I think Petrolhead might hold him off. Petrolhead actually had a terrific start. These two actually had a pretty similar start on pace. Dudley now going to try and make it once again. Of course, those two had a bit of an incident on track, but I think that's got to get looked at after the race. Doug Barrow going a little bit too deep, and it's forced Dudley to take a wider line. And Doug Barrow, very good defense move right there. And Shadow and Marcello up in the 4th and 5th. This is absolutely insane. Man, they could just Sunday drive right through traffic there. What are they? It's like, oh, and Petrol has gone. Oh, and Petrolhead, the pole sitter mate, has just, oh man, he did super well in the first part in the feature race. And we're going to take a look at what's happened here. Oh, just that little kick of throttle and on the grass. Yeah, that's what you don't want to do. Dudley now up to the front of the field with Doug Barrow and Shadow and Marcello and Splash making up the top 5 right behind us. It is absolutely crazy here. Shadow, no way you're going to make this too wide through the chicane, mate. Doug Barrow actually doing the wiser thing. Oh man, this is going to be absolutely placed. Marcello. What in the world was that? What in the world was that? Marcello, mate. That's Marcello. If I was you, mate, that was not a smart move to do that. I'm sorry, that was not smart, mate. I'm sorry. You kind of want to let the whole field on by, because keep Razor and Tap back there. If those guys are carrying it full steam ahead, and they might have damage. So, yeah, please, for future reference, please don't do that. Right, back onto the main straight of things. Dudley now up into first place. Duck Barrel having a size moment. Shadow now gonna take, actually that's Splash, who had an incident earlier on, got it back up into fourth place, leading this pack now in this sprint. Oh, does that Shadow make a move on Dudley for second place? He was side by side. He's now side by side with James Head for third place. Marcello now down to fifth, as well as Duck Barrel. Man, this is a 7-car train now. Razor actually in the mix of this as well. This is an absolutely close racer here. We're going right now. Marcello, Tyson in the chat saying Shadow, giving all the support to Shadow in the live stream chat right now. Is Marcello gonna make a move on his teammate? I'm pretty sure. Is that 3 wide going down into? Oh, I think that was Shadow. Oh, not Shadow. I think going a little bit too deep. I think too deep into the wall, and I think teammates had contact with each other, and I think those are gonna have to get their you-know-what together in order they want to keep this going ahead. Splash, James, Dudley making up the top 3 of this race with the Sidemas crew extremely looming into the background as well, but do not count them out. Splash now defending onto the inside, but James gonna make the move down onto the outside. Dudley gonna sit behind, and is Dudley gonna make a move? James using a little bit of overtake to try and get by that number 11 of Splash, having to tuck back behind. I think he might have given him a little bit of contact as they're side by side. Dudley now gonna make the move on board with the number 12 of Dudley in this visor cam. Oh, I think Splash moved a little bit too late. Is Dudley gonna make the move onto the inside? Oh, keeping it clean, a very respectable driving. Of course, Dudley knew he wasn't going to make that move, but Splash was going to take that line, so very respectable driving indeed. Sander, SMM Sander in the chat saying, hello, welcome to the stream. Of course, you have not missed a whole lot. Ty saying, Sander, you missed something. Yeah, I didn't want to be the one to say that, Ty, so thank you for telling your teammate that. So I didn't want to spoil anything too much. Indeed, Splash now for this Speed DB Motorsports operation, of course, in the silver, red, and black number 11 Super Formula Honda. Of course, just taking it to him. Of course, doing an absolutely superb job. James Head now back up into fourth place. Dudley now, Dudley. We're going to take a look at that again as well from Dudley, man. What superb car control. Yeah, oh, Dudley, mate, what a superb amount of car control right there, but unfortunately he's let the 2 Cymax boys on go ahead. Splash now and James fighting it out for first place. James Head now in the number 7 back up into the front of the fray, and that has allowed Marcello, man, this man is just, he is just taking this as a Sunday drive. Marcello, absolutely electric in the number 5. Of course, Ty saying we had a 1-2 lapping the field. Who else but us, I guess? No one, Sander. It was you two. Of course, the time expired for everyone behind. Shadow and Marcello, and of course, Marcello and Shadow beating out the clock. Everyone else wasn't able to, and of course, that's what led to the 1 lap lapping of everyone else. And Marcello just sat at the line. Sanders saying, haha, no, that's a no joke, but damn nice. Tice just LMAO as per usual. Of course, from the Iceman, of course. Oh, and Splash! Very, very fine lines for these Super Formula machines. A shout out, or Marcello, my apologies, gonna make the move down to the inside of the Lithuanian. Splash giving him every single bit of room, and I think Splash might have given a little bit too much room because Dudley is on his corner panel, and Dudley now tucking back to the inside. Now James Head gonna still keep it down there as well. Splash now, what's he got in store as we go aboard off this T-cam now? God, I'm legitimately losing my voice in this. Oh my goodness me. Only 5 minutes into this race. Dudley and Shadow not that far off now. Tap up into 6th place. What's happened to Doug and Razor? I know Petrolhead had an incident, but Doug Barrow and Razor have had mega moments, and their lap times are showing as a result as well. Dudley now with the fastest lap of this race as Splash. Marcello now going to make a move for first place. Late dive to the inside. Oh, I think there was a little bit of argy-bargy. It forced Marcello a little bit wide. Marcello now trying to use a little bit of overtake to stay on that inside. Keep a line up there as well, side by side. Oh, You can absolutely not make this up. Marcello now really being feisty in that Super Formula machine, just really taking it to Splash. Marcello, man, I don't know how you drive this car off to its limits, mate, but I have got to learn from you, I'll tell you what. Marcello now, with one of the most exquisite driving lines driving styles I've ever seen from a racing driver. He goes for a gap and he goes for it, but he does it with extreme car control. Not in every case, but in most cases, does it extremely, extremely well. Shadow now tried to look on the inside of Dudley for 4th place, and Marcello now gonna make the move on James Head. Splash now up into the lead. Oh, and they're side by side. James Head, I think, had to let James Head back in because I think they know too wide wasn't going to make it work. This is absolutely fine stuff indeed. James Head now back up onto the inside of Splash. He's got that front wing up position, and Marcello, I think, is going to follow through. It's going to be 3 wide going into the... Oh, and I think there was a little bit of contact, and I think Splash was forced wide on the receiving end of that, and that's allowed Shadow to get back up into the main frame of things. Oh, this is absolutely electric here. 3 wide going across the start-finish line. 4 wide as Shadow, I think, trying to give his teammate Marcello a little bit of tapping room. Oh, and this is, oh my goodness gracious me, just, my goodness me. Splash now backing out of that, doesn't want to be in any part of that whatsoever. Shadow now, oh, and I think Marcello going forced off a little bit wide, and that's allowed Shadow to close up radically up, and Shadow now, being the support of Marcello, going to sit back behind in 4th place. Splash now really having to defend against Marcello. This is absolutely insane racing from a lot of these guys. These guys have been fighting each other so hard, and it's allowed Tap and maybe even Doug Barrow to close back up into this race. Doug Barrow has actually ran out of overtake. That is a very interesting development to have happen. Man, Doug Barrow has ran out of overtake. A lot of these guys losing out on the overtake situation here as well. A lot of overtake between these guys at the front of the field. Ty saying, what is this? I'm going to tell you right now, you can't even believe what is this, because this is absolutely class racing from a lot of these guys as well. Oh, and was that a bit of a track over? Big whack of the wall for James Head. I don't think he's going to be too happy with that one, because I kind of want to take a look at the replay on that as well. If he was forced out a little bit wide by one of these drivers, Dudley gets on through, no problem. He lets by a little bit. Oh, forced a little bit into the wall. Oh, and I'm not sure what the circumstances for that were going to be, as Tab now moves up into 5th place. Doug Barrow now moves up into 5th. James Head, I think, yeah, James Head not happy about that at all. Oh, and James Head, yeah, I can tell he's not happy about that whatsoever now, because I think James Head was having to be forced a little bit off, and yeah, I think James not very, very happy about that whatsoever right now. Splash now in 4th place, using a little bit of overtake to stay within this pack. Shadow now up into 3rd place, Marcello in 2nd place, and Dudley has got a monumental mountain to climb and to keep up at the top of the mountain as well. If he still wants to get this race victory whatsoever, Marcello now going to make the move down to the inside for the corner. Very nicely well executed move. A little bit of contact there on Dudley, trying to keep him out there as well. Oh my goodness me, very, very tight stuff indeed between a lot of these guys as well. Splash in the thick of things as well. Shadow up into 3rd place. Very, very tight stuff indeed from a lot of these guys. Dudley now going to try and make the move back on the Italian. Marcello, the American versus the Italian versus the Dutchman versus the Lithuanian. That is a handful to say. Splash now on the inside. Can he make something work there? He tried it, but I don't think he had the momentum. He's going to have to sit back and wait for something to happen. Marcello and Shadow now getting back up to the front of the field now. Oh, and I think Dudley trying to get back onto the inside, or behind Shadow, but I don't think he was in clear entirely just yet. Dudley now up onto the inside. Oh, and I think Dudley going to make this very, very tight indeed. Marcello and Shadow. Oh my goodness me, I thought Marcello was going to go off the field. My goodness, my words indeed. Marcello now back up into the front of the field now. Shadow in 2nd, Dudley in 3rd. But this is far from over. Oh, and I think there was a little bit of contact between Splash and Dudley in that exchange. And now, oh my goodness me, side by side through the S's. Dudley gonna make it a challenge if he wants to keep this victory. Oh my goodness me, wow. Teamwork makes the dream work. Let's go, lads. Of course, the Spinella, and of course the Italian, Marcello. I'm gonna start calling Shadow Spinello, of course. Oh boy, indeed. This is absolutely insane works indeed. Ay. This is what an absolutely fine race weekend it has been for a lot of these guys. And of course now it's gonna be absolutely so as I take a moment now, Dudley I think has actually had a little bit of a moment. What has happened to Dudley? So I think he might have had a little bit of a moment there in terms of what's happened on track. Oh, you can't be serious! You legitimately cannot be serious. Is that... No, do not tell me. Do not tell me. Do not tell me. What the... Oh, and there was a little bit of moment there, I think. Yeah. Oh, that was Splash spitting out Shadow. So that was assisted in some way. But now, look at the battle between this mid-pack. This is absolutely insane. Oh, my goodness me. Marcello now, once again, the man could just take the time, man. He could just take the time, just, you know, he can just do his own thing, you know. Dudley now up into second place. He's going to have a little bit of retribution. And Doug Barrow up into third place as well. I know he wants to continue the battle with Dudley, but of course, he's literally got no overtake whatsoever, and he's not that far ahead of James, Shadow, and Splash, all far behind as well. Absolutely crazy stuff right there as well. Marcello, let's go. Of course, Marcello, man, just... You don't doubt the guy at all. Of course, one of the coolest, like, he's got a cool head, of course, just does his own thing. Oh, almost having a spin right there, as a matter of fact. Dudley also having a cool head as well. James Shadow now back up into fourth place, taking it to James in that number 7. You thought a lot of these guys were down the pecking order, of course, but of course, these guys finding it back up once again. His Splash makes a move back up into the top 5. Oh, and Shadow. And this is absolutely electric stuff indeed. My oh my, indeed. This is going to be an absolutely crazy fest here that we got going on as well. Also, Tice, please, if you're getting this message, do check the STM Discord when you do have the chance as well. Just want to make sure you got that. 3 wide going down. Splash backing out of that as well, but allowing Razor to get right alongside. Shadow now back up into 4th place now. And he's done an extreme move after that spin. Splash now down to 7th place. This has gone absolutely awry for Splash, unfortunately. But I expect him to make a mount a charge late in this running. Dudley, I don't think, making up a whole lot of ground on Marcello. Marcello just really setting the pace. I think Dudley now is just trying to get up as many points as he can, using a little bit of overtake now. Doug Barrow, like we said, doesn't have any overtake whatsoever. If not, actually, no, you can barely see right there. He's got a little smidge of overtake. So, like, probably like 1 or 2% left of overtake for just a little bit of extra power for a split second indeed. Maybe it might make the difference, but who knows? In this sprint race as well. Shadow now with a lot of overtake now, using it up in the last couple minutes of this race. I could see the message that Tice had left in the stream chat, knowing that he's seen what I have done. Actually, I'm going to have to pop up on the phone here just so I can be able to keep up with the stream. And what an absolute... Sorry, Tice, I am not sorry one bit. I just love messing with Tice one too many times, and that's probably why that's probably why SDM is still not faster than SMM, unfortunately, so. Doug Barrow still holding on into 3rd place. James Head and Shadow. James Head has been giving Shadow a really harsh time in the number 7. And so, Gonna be more electric here as we go on. James said, oh, James, please tell me you didn't do that again. No, you didn't do it again. Oh, James said you were giving Shadow a good run for his money. Now Splash with the fastest lap of the race with a 27.412, and he's got just over a second to go on the number 68 of Shadow. My word. Tice, James, if this is what you guys sign me up to do for the remainder of the season, then I'm all for it. I don't care if I get migraines week in and week out. This is going to be the excitement, the fun, the entertainment, the action. It all makes up for it with the exception of the migraine, which is going to still suck after the race, but man, I am up for it. I am up for every single bit of it as well. Razor and Petrol going at it, scrapping it out. Of course, Razor with no overtake. Petrolhead with not a whole lot of overtake. Using a little bit of overtake now to try and get that little bit of an advantage as to what he can get. Turn our eyes back up to the front of the field. Dudley still trailing Marcello by 4.3 seconds, but leading over Doug by 2.3. And I think Doug doing a good job of keeping that pace very, very consistent as well. Ty saying, can I say something to Marcello in the interviews? Take it to send it to my DMs just so we can be surprised by everything as well. So message me in the DMs as soon as your earliest convenience, just so I can be able to say it as well. Razor and Petrolhead, I think, still scrapping it out back there. Yeah, you can see the bottom of the leaderboard right there, just really going back and forth as well. Razor now back on the back foot. Petrolhead, no overtake as well. So no overtake between those two drivers. It's going to be battling it out for bragging rights here in the finale bit of this sprint race. Splash down into 6th place. Oh, has he had a big moment? He has had his hands full completely whatsoever as well. Tice wants to know what? Hang on, Keelan says Tice wants to know if he's had his tagliatelle before his race. What? Number 1 Spiegato from Italy. You know what, Tice? I'm going to let Marcello do the honors of checking the stream chat to see what his reactions are going to be as well. Of course, Marcello taking back that fastest lap of the race, using up the overtake now so that he can set himself up in a prime position. And runs out of the overtake. Now he gets to just cleanly coax the car on home. Of course, that gap now building up to 6.5 seconds, maybe even a little bit more when it's all said and done. Doug Barrow now trailing Dudley by 3 seconds. Dudley has had a very chaotic weekend so far, but this is going to be a well and truly deserved sprint race podium for him as well. And same thing with Doug Barrow as well, but he's got Shadow right behind him as well. And Doug Barrow might be having a look, and he might be losing out on that podium as well as Shadow now with the fastest lap, his fastest lap of the race. And this is all not set and done. Shadow now, is he going to make the move up to the inside? And he does. Oh, and they're going to be side by side in James and Splash. This is all far from over here with this final lap of this race. Shadow now and Doug Barrow, I think, as he used all of his overtake, he's still got that overtake a little bit left, so he doesn't want people to know. Oh, James said using it. Oh, and I see he had a big moment. He has indeed. And I think, he's not that far off of this as well. And Splash might still with a chance left in this race to go. He's going to save up all of that overtake left in the remainder of this race. Shadow using a bit more overtake left to go. Marcello and Dudley, we know, are going to take first and second of this race. But who is going to take that final step on the podium? It's going to be Splash, who's going to be very progressive indeed. Shadow now up into 3rd place, but Splash, looking at the advantage and the opportunity, is far from over. What a moment it's going to be for Splash if he can truly take this race. We'll turn our eyes back up to the front of the field where it's Marcello. He has been the driver to beat, and no one is going to beat him today in the final parts of this race. It will be Marcello who will take the win of the sprint race as well. Dudley, what a performance he has had as well. He will come home for 2nd place. And Shadow will come up for 3rd, and James and just barely beats out Doug for that top 5 position. 3/1000ths of a second between those two drivers. My word, indeed. Oh my God. You can absolutely not make that stuff up as well. Marcello dominating the day, of course, coming from the back of the sprint race grid, to take home and sweep the weekend here at the Dragon Trail Seaside Circuit as well. My, indeed. Of course, Marcello and Shadow, of course, taking first and third place. Who has sent me the friend request? That's going to be interesting of note as well. Who has sent me a lovely little friend request here? Let's see. Shadow with the friend request, of course. So I'm going to get the man in second place. Oh, and I believe we are going to get Federico Viviani. Unfortunately, I cannot speak Italian, so someone will have to translate that for me. So we're going to get Dudley in the race chat. So where is Dudley? There he is. So we're gonna wait for everyone to pop in the party chat. Awesome job, lads, from everybody, of course, on the race side of things. And of course, we're just gonna wait for everyone to pop in the party chat just before we get everything going, lights ablaze as well. Shadow, I did see the friend request that you did send me. All right, so with everyone now, or almost everyone in the party, because we're still waiting for the man Marcello. I think he's gone absolutely ballistic with the celebrations, of course. Man, we got Marcello's mate in the chat, Federico Viviani, and the GOAT, of course, Marcello Fede fan numero 1.
Super fan number 1.
Yeah. Super fan number 1. So we're going to take it to the podium. So again, Shadow, of course. Again, you get spun around this time, and I don't know what's up with you, mate, but somehow you make the podium work out somehow. Tell us about that crazy and chaotic sprint race.
I think it's definitely the fact that people are fighting so much. Like, I was watching the average lap time, and it was at 1:29. I think in the main race we did the 1:27 at that point, so I think that's the main reason that I was able to catch up. I don't know what happened at the spin. Maybe like the race was really weird. I felt a lot of netcode problems. I don't know with other people, but people lagging forward, backwards, and then suddenly getting 2 miles per hour, 10 miles per hour faster, and suddenly it was very weird.
Yeah, so I was actually really enjoying that sprint race, but I guess it was a little bit different in the cockpits from a majority of the drivers.
No,
But that's
I don't say I didn't like it, but it was very different than the main race.
Gotcha. So a good day for you, Shadow. Of course, taking the number 2 position there for the feature race, and then the 3rd place for the sprint. We'll turn our attention now to Dudley. Of course, Dudley had a major issue with the fueling in the feature race, but coming back through in the sprint to take home a 2nd place, a truly deserved 2nd place. Dudley, man, tell us about the race today. Yeah, that was kind of the big things that not a whole lot of us expected in the first race as well, was the lack of fuel, and that the fuel mileage on these cars maybe wasn't up to snuff. Maybe some people definitely did catch out on that as well, but of course, you and I think that Petrolhead was another driver that fell short of that as well. But we'll turn our eyes back to the sprint race. Dudley, of course, having to withstand a lot of pressure from a lot of the guys behind as well, then got himself in some clean air and then just took it home in 2nd place. How much of the wheel turning was there when you were in the mix of the fight for 2nd place?
Big fight. You really can't get away from people with these cars. They're carrying so much drag with such low horsepower. It's really a big chess match. But was able to keep it clean, and others weren't able to, and got into the points.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the things that we've noticed with a lot of these cars as well. Of course, they're low on power, but they have so much downforce and carry so much drag in a straight line, even though they're trying to be as aerodynamically efficient as possible. Was there any given chance that you might have been able to challenge Marcello for the race win had you been able to get out of that pack for the lead of the race?
Well, that's just it. I mean, no matter how fast you are, once you're out of the draft, or when you're in the draft, you can stay alongside. You can stay in that draft and fight them. Once you're out of that draft, someone gets in clean air, you know, just pop out of the end.
Got you, indeed. So definitely a crazy and hectic day for you, Dudley, in that number 12 Repsol sponsored machine. But a good day for you to cap off a hectic and crazy weekend with that second place podium in the sprint. So a good day for you nonetheless. We'll turn our eyes attention to the man, the myth, the Italian, numero uno, Marcello in number 5. Marcello, it just keeps getting easier for you, mate. Tell us about the race.
It wasn't easy at all. Like, just before I speak about the race, I want to thank the guys who supported me in the chat. Fede and Thais, of course. And I saw Sander earlier on as well, so thank you guys. And then second, I don't know if it was caught on stream, but I was going side by side with James through the Death Chicane. I left him a lot of room. I didn't feel any contact. I was looking at the radar. I don't think we touched, but I don't know what happened to him. He lost a handful of places after that. So, I'm very sorry to him if we actually made contact and if I actually compromised this line. Well, I definitely did.
There was contact, yeah. I just seen the reply.
Yeah, I actually did get a chance to catch that on stream as well, and particularly I'm usually a bit more laid back with like kind of smaller incidents, but that was something that might definitely have to be investigated after the race. So maybe it's not all set in stone just yet. So depending on what the stewards would like to do with that, so we will definitely take that into consideration as well. But despite that, Marcello, give us a rundown of the racing with basically everybody in the front pack right there. It had to be an absolutely cluster, you know what, in the middle of that fray right there.
No, I mean it was. I enjoy it. I enjoyed it because in the previous races, the racing wasn't as clean as it was today. But then again, I was lucky in this one once again. As Dudley said, once you get out of the slipstream, the draft. You can really show your true pace and you can do whatever you want. And after my fastest lap, I was just backing off and just making sure I get this win. I really hope I do get this. But yeah, it was apart from that, James, the contact that I had with James, I think I had a pretty clean race. But once again, I was lucky. Sorry to interrupt you. I was lucky with the drivers behind fighting and Shadow having another spin, unfortunately. But he did a really good job at coming back.
Well, a good day for you, Marcello. Nonetheless, of course, you take the win in the feature, but of course you win on the road for the sprint, but I'm not sure how the stewards will take a look at that particular incident as it was caught on stream. But for now, I am going to cut it here because we still have a bunch of races to look back upon from the previous rounds at Fuji. So ladies and gentlemen, if you did enjoy these races from the Dragon Trail Seaside Circuit, congratulations to all of our finishers, our podium finishers in the sprint, Shadow, Dudley, and Marcello. And the action, we're about halfway there. We're not far from over just yet. So what we're going to do now is we're going to pop to James Head's timeline. He just messaged me saying that he is a little bit emotional right now, so I'm not going to go too in-depth with that as well. So just because we have 2 races down doesn't mean we are going to stop. Hey, look at all these cars, by the way. So we are going to turn our attention. Oh, hold on. Marcello, you still in the chat, by the way?
Yes, I am.
Tyson wanted me to say something to you on his behalf. He says you are the #1 Spiegato from Italy.
Oh man, yeah, that's a lot. That's a long story.
Well, if it's explicit, we'll save it for after the stream. But if it's
No, it's not. It's not explicit. It's not explicit at all. But
gotcha.
Pretty funny story. I can explain that to you later if you want.
Definitely do so indeed. But what I'm going to do now, gents, is going to go right straight into the Fuji rounds for the Super Formula Series. So I will let you guys be on your merry way. Congratulations to you two on your respective podiums and race wins. And so that was the Dragon Trail side of things here for the SRS series. What we're going to do now is just pop right on into the Fuji feature race. Still got plenty of action to go. Tice, yes, I have told Marcello what I wanted to say to him as well. And I'm not sure how frequent it has to be said, but it sounds like he is the #1 Spiegato out of Italy today. So, and so now as the replay finally goes up, oh, they're doing the short version of the track, which I was not anticipating, which is nice. Oh yeah. I drove a massively oversized land yacht the last time I was here, and then I had to step out, unfortunately, as well. We'll let everyone pop on out of the party. I think, Marcello, you decided to stick along enough with me into this party chat, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear me? Do you want to hear me scream at the top of my lungs for the start of the sprint?
I mean, well.
I mean, if you want to, I could. So right.
No, I mean, I'm gonna leave it now.
Gotcha.
The Spiegato story to you.
You get to join in on the fray as well, with these guys having to all basically go to once again with the sprint. Right now, we get to join some action here, and so. The 5 red lights from Superhero's perspective gets away really nicely indeed with the overtake being used immediately off the bat. Superhero and Dudley making up the front row with Marcello, Petrol, and Splash and Shadow. Hairraiser and Doug, and then Bar, Jameshead, Tap, and Olive, and once again Bar, I'm pretty sure, making up the majority of the grid. Superhero now leading him off very, very nicely indeed here with Marcello up into second place for the start of the Fuji race. Of course, these races not being live broadcasted, but of course they are on a post-race replay, to say the least. Shadow now up into 4th place for the start of this race, which is very, very nice of him. Petrolhead now, ooh, nice little cheeky dive, but it didn't last that long as Doug Barrow gets it back up into the 5th spot right there as well. And Splash now, I think, has had a moment here where he's really lost out a lot of time, unless he started out at the back of the field. So we're going to take a look and see what's happened with him as well. Dudley now on the back bumper, or not on the back bumper, the back rear wing of Marcello. Of course, those of you that are still sticking around in the chat, we greatly appreciate you guys for staying around for a little bit more action, to say the least. Of course, I don't have a countdown timer, but I have a count up timer if that'll bring anyone's fancy nonetheless. Superhero now leading him off in one of the Pink Panthers, the number 18. Marcello, Dudley, and Shadow, and maybe even a little bit of Doug, all following these guys down towards the front straight away. And this is going to be absolutely chaotic indeed as Shadow moves over, same as Marcello, maybe, and even Dudley as well. Is Dudley thinking about making a move onto the inside? Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. This is going to be an absolutely crazy one indeed here. Sharon said, I thought it was another race. No, unfortunately, I was slated to commentate in the races from last week live, but of course had sudden family plans that were out of the realm of my possibility that I had to attend as well. So we're getting it all done and dusted here. Of course, getting them on the channel, so a little bit of double prime time action here indeed. Dudley with a tremendous move in defense on Shadow as he tries to get by on Marcello. James said, just saying, expect a big performance from me in that sprint race. Ooh, now you're getting my fancies up going in the sprint race at least. So, I'm going to keep an eye out on that as well. Superhero still leading him off. Olive at the back of the field, and Tap a little ways back as well. Razor and Splash, not that too far off. Petrolhead and Jameshead. Jameshead with a bit of a penalty. Wait, were penalties on this race for Dragon Trail? I wasn't even 100% sure about that now that I even mentioned that. Either way, Superhero and Marcello still going at it for the front of the field. Marcello moves back out to the left side of the track to driver's left. Deep on the brakes. Marcello now, oh, I think a little bit of contact, a little bit of a Cupertino effect. Dudley now not too far off at the behind section of this race. Dudley, the American. And so Shadow now a little ways back as Dudley, Marcello, and Superhero lead them on off. Superhero, of course, having seen race in past other leagues, but this is his first true foray into, once again, the SRS Motorsports paddock with this group of people. Marcello and Dudley now still, or not, yeah, Marcello and Dudley still hanging true. Ooh, a little bit of a lag. Ooh, I think there's a little bit of a lag spike right there, to say the least. Of course, we got two of you in the chat right now, and I can imagine James being one of those. Of course, I do understand the emotions are a little bit on the downside of things right now, but going to make this very, very interesting for you on a solo effort as well. So that doesn't mean it's going to stop. The whole party is going to stop as well. Marcello now very, very closer, much closer to Superhero going down to turn number one. He's going to take the lead of this race, but can he keep it on the inside? Oh, I think there's a bit of contact. I think that was inevitable at some point because Superhero really trying to keep on to that lead. I think Marcello was really trying hard to clear him and possibly even keep it on the outside of turn number one as well. Sharon, thank you, and James for both sticking out into the chat as well. Man, there's a little bit more people that were still coming out here to the party as well to watch on this as well. That would be very, very exceptional indeed as well. Shadow's actually fallen back a little bit. I was actually quite surprised that he was about that far back as well, because Jameshead and Petrol are still really fighting it out as well, and Splash using a bit of overtake at the moment to still stay into the fray of things as well. Shadow not using that much overtake, as well as Marcello, as well as Superhero, as well as Dudley. And so now, it's going to be very, very, very close indeed, to say the least. And so, Marcello and Dudley still trying to hang on to that set of slipstream to not let Superhero get too far on off. And so, Dudley now thinking about making a move on to the outside of Marcello going into turn number one. And what a clean move that was by Dudley in the number 12. So we're going to keep you an eye out. Oh, and what's happened to Shadow? Shadow's actually had a moment. Unfortunately, we don't have replay functions on the replay side of things. But that is a big, big loss in terms of positions for Shadow, who is down in the 8th place. Please don't tell me he's using the Spinala name to his credit once again. Ay, 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 indeed. So what we're going to do right now, Superhero taking his nice old time in the Pink Panther. Of course, Superhero, one of the quicker drivers. Of course, Superhero and Dudley, all new names in the SRS once again in their first seasons with the league. Marcello, of course, continuing his experience from a mid-season debut in the GT3 series in the last season of SRS Racing. Doug Barrow being a namesake since the league's inception. I think about almost, I want to say 6 months ago. I could be wrong. Someone will have to correct me on that as well. Splash also another namesake as well as Petrolhead. And Shadow, of course, making his debut in the league in this championship. He's actually going to pit right now. Ooh! Is that scheduled or is that unexpected? Because that's a very early stop, especially for the Super Formula World Challenge Series. So we're going to keep an eye out for what's going on here. So new tires going on in that machine as well. So I think a change of strategy. So that's going to be very, very interesting. Man, that is going to be that's very interesting considering it's from Shadow. That's something out of the playbook that I don't usually see from Shadow, and I'm kind of hoping that if there's going to be more incidents up front, then he can try and get back. Shadow, of course, one of the more smart players, I'd say, in terms of strategy. Going to see if this all pans out for him in the long run. James Head and Barr in 9th and 8th respectively. Of course, James Head and Barr, of course, league-long namestays in the SRS League, as well as Razor, as well. Of course, he has been in the league. Of course, got to know him a long, long way back, but of course, continuing that tradition here in the SRS Motorsports League. Oh, and Superhero and Dudley. Do I get replay? Nah, I can change the positions that pretty quickly there. Superhero and Dudley now. Dudley going. What did I say? Dudley. Dudley. Man, I keep saying names wrong apparently today as well. What's happened to Marcello? Something has gone wrong to Marcello, and he, look at that, 28.9 for his last lap. So something has really happened to Marcello within the last lap. And he's picked up a 5/10 penalty as well, which is something that he definitely doesn't need right now, which is a little bit of an inconvenience to say the least. Splash now in 6th place, trying to make up that lost ground as well from the early part of this race. I'm amazed that those cars can take that corner, I think, flat out, if not completely flat out. That is just amazing, amazing car handling from a lot of these guys as well. And so, Doug Barrow, completely not that too far off in 3rd place. Petrol, and then Marcello making up the top 5. Of course, Dudley once again, still on the back. Of course, you can't see it through this halo because it's a thick, inanimate object. But of course, the FIA mandating halos on all open-wheel cars since the incident with one of the Formula One drivers. And so Doug Barrow still hanging on, true and tested in 3rd, Sunday driving it to say the least, but the same can't be said for these top 2 drivers. Marcello down into 6th. That is an interesting development to note right there, as the Cymax crew very much struggling in this feature race in the first third of this race. And this is not character of Cymax, because normally you see them at the top of the field, if not at the top of the field. So this is very unorthodox for this team to be struck in a position where they are right now in 6th place, and I believe in 9th place, or even 10th place. Shadow way far back, but given the fact that he's made his mandatory stop very, very early on, saving up that overtake as well. We're going to turn our eyes back to the number 5 of Marcello, since he's a little bit struggling right now. Superhero making his early stop. That is also an interesting call. A lot of these leading cars making their early stops within the first half of this race. So I'm not too sure what the game plan for that is. James Head as well coming into the pits as well. This is very, very, very interesting to see happening this early in the stage. So unlike Dragon Trail, which we had a lot of these guys going out later on their... Oh, I think James had a little bit of a moment right there. And so a lot of these guys that went later, if not to the end on at Dragon Trail, a couple of these guys going early on their stops. Probably because of the fact that this is a very heavy tire degradation circuit, that a lot of these guys want to get fresher rubber and get the clean air so they don't have to be in it for so long, and it prohibits them from making up any progress up in the field. And that's allowed Dudley to take a clean slate and a clean ride for open air at the front of this field. And so what we're going to do now is, because we didn't get a chance to take a look at it throughout the race at Dragon Show, so I'm apologies for that. We're going to give you guys the onboard track experience. We're going to let Marcello take you around for 2 laps of the Fuji Speedway Circuit and show you what it's like to drive one of these Super Formula Championship winning cars. And just like that, 2 laps go by super quickly, not even 3 minutes, just to show you how quick and how Marcello overdrives that Super Formula machine. Of course, Marcello, of course, I'd like to try and keep it unbiased as possible in the commentary booth. One of the finer drivers in this SRS paddock, of course, very aggressive, and will use that aggression to his advantage to get up the field and deliver exceptional results for the Cymax Motorworks team here in Given. And so, basically, and so pit stops now coming in, which is very interesting. Now is Marcello and Splash still going at it for the lead of this race. The tides of the tables have turned. What am I saying? I almost said the tides have turned and the tables have been flipped, basically, as Superhero and Dudley now, I think, still going at it. Yeah, Dudley, having made his pit stop not that long ago, Superhero not that far off as well. Splash and Marcello have got to make their pit stops now as we come across. Have been just basically Oh my god, I'm losing my train of thought here. And so now, with the halfway point through this race elapsed in the sprint, or not the sprint, the feature, my apologies. Man, that Dragon Trail trace really wore me down for this Fuji race, so. But still a lot of action on track for the lead of this race, and these two having yet to pit, and Dudley now leading them off. And this is going to be absolutely crazy indeed here. And so now, yeah, I do apologize for the splits in the commentary action right now. I'm having to, of course, send a couple of messages between drivers and teammates, of course. Going to turn back into the chat right now. Ty's just saying Sharon is GOAT, the best driver in GTS. Honestly, I'll tell you what now, I think one of these races, we got to take a little bit of a break so that Palmer can bring in Sharon and just show Sharon's driving prowess in the sim racing league, in the sim racing world, just to see that Sharon is the best driver in the SRS Discord. Superhero in the background going off a little bit wide, as a matter of fact getting a penalty for, I think, for exceeding a little bit of track limits there. Marcello now having to serve that penalty. Now Splash, and I believe Marcello going to come into the pit lane. Marcello now having to sacrifice the lead for Splash now, who gets in the lead of this race. Very, very good him. And so all of a sudden now Splash, ooh, with a track limits violation right there. And so Splash still leading him off. Of course, with that 4/10 penalty. Marcello now with that 1 second time penalty. So this is going to get very interesting in terms of penalties now. Dudley now having the right mindset, keeping the wheels in check now, setting down very, very consistent pace right now. And this is going to fall into Dudley's favor if the top two do not pit sooner rather than later, because Dudley is coming with a full steam ahead. Doug Barrow not even that far off as well. And so, yeah, the top two do make their way into the pit lane, not even at their pit box. So Dudley now is going to inherit the lead of this race, and those two have actually just gotten to their pit boxes. And so Doug Barrow and Superhero going to come out as well, and they are losing tremendous time to the guys up in front. So Dudley now going to be way, 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 way down the order right now. My, oh my, oh my, oh my. And so now Doug Barrow, not that too far off in the first of two Costa Racing Team SDM machines. Shadow back up in the fourth. Petrolhead in the top five with Splash not that too far off Marcello and James Head making up the top 8. This has been an absolutely crazy race here, to say the least. Of course, not too crazy, not as crazy as Dragon Trail in both aspects, but, you know, from what I've seen, very close driving from a lot of these guys as well. Oh, but it's going to get a lot more closer between these three right here, Petrolhead, Splash, and Marcello. And so now Marcello and Splash get the better of them. James Head not that far off. Splash going to defend onto the inside. As a matter of fact, I think he's going to lose a bit of positions as a result of that. Splash, a little bit of contact, but I don't think it was nothing too major. There's still a lot of room to be left between both drivers. Very close action from a lot of these guys at the moment. So this has just been absolutely crazy. And so now, really good stuff right now from a lot of these guys. Dudley still controlling the field. I don't have an approximate gap, but with this button right here, that could change a little bit as well. The gap now just under 3 seconds to lead over Doug Brown. I'm pretty sure Dudley, yes, he has made his way into the pit stop, and we're just about less than 6 minutes to go left in this feature race. Dudley has done an incredible job controlling the pace at the moment, so he's done himself wonders in that number 12 machine. Superhero recovering really nicely back up into 3rd place in that number 18 in that Brightwater Technology sponsored vehicle. Shadow now still in 4th, doing his own thing. Marcello up into 5th. James Head, actually Marcello breaking away a little bit from this pack right here, up in 5th place. James Head still in 6th place at the current moment. Petrolhead and Splash still duking it out for who's going to remain on the regular sort of things. Sharon is, Petrolhead's gone a little bit too deep. As a matter of fact, he's had to let go of that position, and as a result, Splash getting 1 extra position, but as a matter of fact, that gets a penalty for Petrolhead. I don't think he expected for that penalty to come right there and serve it, so maybe a little bit bad timing from the penalty system there. It's very inconsistent, and that's kind of the thing I hate about this game, is that, you know, SRS, they establish a penalty system where penalties do need to be served, but in some cases where the car can go very slow in a couple of these corners, the penalty decides to automatically start serving itself, and that's just a little bit unfortunate to see right there between these drivers. Sharon Palmer a little bit confused in the chat. Sharon, basically a GOAT means it's like you're the best, you're at the top, you know, like you're the number 1 person and all that cool jazz. And apparently Tyson's saying that you're the number 1 driver in GT Sport. You're faster than T5 Black, you're faster than a couple of faster guys, you're even faster than the Cymax crew, so basically you are the number 1 in SRS. Just had to basically throw it on out there as well. Says Sharon Palmer, finally getting the memo there. Is Palmer actually watching these races with you as by out of curiosity as well? Unless he's currently after something. A Petrolhead going wide again. So I think he's trying to push that car to go where it can go full throttle at the moment through that little corner right there. But I don't think it's currently working it up. Sharon Palmer saying, "Where's my trophy?" Tice, you may have to be the one to source that one out for Palmer, since you said that she is the GOAT. On a bit of action, feisty action right there with about less than 3 minutes to go, with Superhero and Doug Barrow trying to fight it out for the 2nd and 3rd spots on the podium. Superhero diving it back to the inside, a little bit of a fake out. Dudley now in the distance, he has completely cleared off in this pack right here. This is working in Dudley's favor very, very well. Sharon Palmer saying, no, he was asleep. So he was asleep. So you're saying that Palmer is awake now, basically, to say the least. No, I was just messing around with you, basically. So, if Palmer is doing well, if he's still doing well, he's doing all right. So it's good to hear, to say the least. Shadow now not that far off, as well as Marcello. Splash in the mix of things as well in the number 11 machine right there as well. The number 5 for Marcello, the 68 for Shadow. Doug Barrow and Superhero still working on it. This has been an absolutely wonderful recovery for Doug Barrow, especially after what happened at the Red Bull Ring not that too long ago as well. This is absolutely the recovery that he's needed in this race. Superhero now in second place still, but Dudley has just done the right thing. He's kept his head clean. He's kept his nose clean. He hasn't been into a lot of trouble as of late, but he's done an absolutely superb job to stick right in the mix of the lead as well. Right, so coming to the final corner, as I had to send out a little bit of a quick message, of course. Dudley now coming to the final lap of this race. A couple of cars in the back of the mix making their first final corner now. And so who's going to make it? Who is going to make it to the line? Doug Barrow, oh my goodness me, Marcello has absolutely come out of nowhere for this running. And who's going to make it? A lot of these guys. One of them not going to make it is Petrol Head. So the top 7 will make it. Hair Raiser now and Bar. Oh, and Bar 27. Can he hang on? Oh, little Archie Bargy, but Bar will hold on for 9th place. Tap and Olive, of course, they're going to come home for 11th and 12th respectively, unless something crazy happens with those guys as well. Dudley's still leading them off. Marcello up into 2nd place with Superhero, hot on his heels. So this is not far from over. Doug Barrow down into 4th place, who thought he was going to have a fair shot at the podium. Shadow now down in 5th place, going a little bit wide. That might thwart a track limits penalty of 5/10, who knows. And there you go right there, as exactly as I predicted. James Head and Splash down in 6th and 7th, a little bit too far back to make mount any type of challenge. Marcello has got the overtake. Superhero has got none, but as a matter of fact, he goes a little bit too deep. Oh, as a matter of fact, he's gone too deep, and that's going to cost him a podium and another position. Oh my goodness me! And this is all far from over, and Shadow might be the one taking the spoils for the final spot on the podium, but Dudley will take the win at the Fuji feature race and get that fastest lap. Marcello using all of his overtake to get that 2nd spot on the podium. Shadow, oh, and Doug Barrow's gonna hang on, and he's actually had to serve that penalty. James Head and Splash will come home for 6th, and Superhero down in 7th place. My, oh my, indeed. How can it get even more crazier than that? Holy moly. What a crazy, crazy, crazy race that was. We are far from over because we've got one more hectic sprint race to go here today. And the action just keeps getting better and better, of course. It's just like you expect something to go in a calm, collected, and cooled manner, and it just keeps getting more and more and more crazier indeed. My, oh my. If this is what I signed up on, well then, heck me. Oh my word indeed. Thank you to those that are still watching the streams. Appreciate you guys tuning in so much. Being able to support the stream as well. Gonna throw out a quick comment as well. So I'm gonna throw out a quick question out there as well for the sprint race with Petrol and Superhero taking out the front row of the grid. And it looks like it's Splash, and then gonna be James Head in row 4, and then Shadow and Doug in row, or Splash and James Head in 3rd and 4th, Shadow and Doug in 5th and 6th, Marcello and Dudley in the taking out the top 8 of the field. And then it looks like it's going to be Bar, Razor, and 10th, and Tap, and then I believe Gamer Coxie, or Olive, one of those two, I think it's Olive, if I'm not mistaken, taking up the top of the field. On board now from Splash's point of view with the 5 red lights, and it is green, a good start, and not a good start from Petrolhead, using a bit of overtake immediately off the bat to try and counteract the guys coming from behind as well. Oh, it's gonna be side by side. Oh, and I believe that is Marcello who's gone wide. Was he probably forced off a little bit wide going into turn number 1, all the way down to 11th, and maybe even dead last. So this is not good news for the Italian Marcello, and he has gone to last. Oh my goodness me. Splash up into 2nd, Petrol in 5th place, Shadow now back up into 4th place. My word indeed. James Head down into 7th place after starting in 4th place, so not a good start for him as he goes down the pecking order as well. This sprint race only 20 minutes in length, so the final race of this 4-race live stream, of course. Of course, getting to live stream the... Oh, James Head with that 1 second time penalty. He's got to keep it on the road. Oh, it's... Oh my goodness me, so close here. We're going to go on board with Doug Barrow, who's in the mix of things as well. Of course, I love to give a sense of these drivers turning their heads. Gives a really good mindset. Oh, little contact right there, as a matter of fact. And Splash, I think, is he having to serve up a bit of a penalty right there? I think he has. Now using that overtake in the early parts of this race. Shadow now, right behind. Of course, these two, SDM and SMM, having that really crazy Team v Team tournament series in the SRS. Of course, Cymax coming away with that win in that series. Of course, very competitive from everybody as well. I think Shadow took it a little bit too deep, and as a matter of fact, took it a little too deep, and someone's gone around, and is that Patrolhead, who has had a moment right there? He has. So where is Shadow? Shadow in 6th, Bar in 7th. He's given a really good crack at show Bar 27 in the just outside the top half of the field. Petrolhead in 4th. Splash now back up into 3rd place. Dudley now in from 8th place up into 2nd, and Superhero back into the lead of this race. So exactly as you'd expect, Dudley doing a superb job in the number 12, keeping his nose clean. And so now as they come through the second lap of this race, Superhero pulling the draft to the right side of the drag, driver's right alongside the pit wall in that number 18 versus the number 12 versus the number 11. Then there's the number 13 behind, then the 44 not that far off as well. Dudley making the move to the lead of this race. I think he's cleared him, but Superhero is not going to let him have it pretty easily. Oh, there's more contact, and I think that was Duck Barrel getting into the back of the 11 right there. And oh man, how in the world do you race like this, gents? I have no idea how y'all race in these super formulas, or I might not be good enough for these cars myself. I swear, someone's going to teach me. Oh, nice little move there by Doug Barrow. Oh boy, the two SDM affiliated machines, one with SDM and then one with the Costa Racing by SDM entry, going at it as well. This has been really chaotic indeed. My oh my, indeed. Absolutely fine driving from a lot of these guys, unless it is different than what the drivers are feeling inside the cockpit. Petrolhead, of course, showing some light from time to time. Right now, showing that light, but of course, being very quick given the right circumstances. And there's Shadow with that near 1 second penalty over James Head, who was down in 7th place. Oh, and I think that slipstream train going really across. Gonna go on board now from the rear of Dudley. I think, oh, this is a camera angle that I didn't do in the Dragon Trollers. That would have been very nice. I think I was so preoccupied with the action and just like really commentating over that, it really didn't give me a chance to give you much of these onboards for the Dragon Show race. It was really close racing from the trackside point of view. And my, oh my indeed, was it crazy nonetheless. Gonna take you on board now, the number 13 of Doug Barrow once again, as he, a little bit of dirty air right there, which did not help the turning of that number 13. Very close stuff indeed here for these cars, having to follow a very fine thread of grip and downforce, and lack thereof grip or lack thereof down. Oh. Was that Splash going slowly? Did he pick up a penalty of some sort? I don't think he did. He might have had some movement there, and Doug Barrow had to really take to the outside there for that car. Petrolhead still in 5th place. Dudley and Superhero. Dudley both trying to use a little bit of overtake to try and get away from one another. Both stop using the overtake, keeping that gap the same. Oh, and there's a little bit of argy-bargy right there. I think that is the Marcello and Barb. Barnes 27 trying to get a little bit on the action. Oh my goodness me, a little bit of contact right there. I don't think, because I think Marcello is like, hey, give me some space. And I don't think that's what you want to do. Oh no, Bar. Oh, buddy, no. No. Why did I have to curse the man like that? Why did I have to curse him like that? No. I've really done my boy dirty right there, unfortunately. Back up to the front of the field. Dudley, once again. And so, Dudley doing the right thing. Keeping it at the front of the field. Doing very superb here indeed. Oh, not James Head. Oh, man, James Head in that Red Bull sponsor number 7. Trying to keep that car from going off in any other direction. Petrolhead, oh, that's not what he wants. He has to keep that car on the track in order to not accumulate more penalties than he's already done so. Splash now having to sit behind, using that overtake once again to try and get by the number 44. Shadow now right up his rear chuff, and he's going to make the move. Not so sudden. On board now with the 68. And he's using a little bit of overtake, I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, right there. Side by side, going into the first corner. And a good move there for Shadow in the 5th place. A little ways ahead, of course, the cost race my SDM machine of Doug Barrow. Dudley has actually lost that 1st place, so something has happened to Dudley. And now all of a sudden, that gap now to these two cars, well, a little bit of excessive track limits right there, and I think that's going to thwart a 5-10 penalty for Superhero in a hot minute. No penalty? Man. Dang, how about that? That is very interesting. James Head going a little bit wide right there. A lot of these cars struggling with grip of that little sector there after the Dunlop corner. And so now, basically Dudley having to fight his way back up the running order. The Superhero out in front. Doug in 3rd, James in 4th. Shadow up in the 5th, Splash in 6th. Splash in a bit of a side match, but it works sandwich right now with Marcello in 7th place, and Petrolhead not even that far off behind as well as the slipstream train pulled over to the pit lane wall. It is indeed. Dudley's going to try and make the move for the lead of this race. He moves over left. Doug Barrow will follow him as well. Superhero stays onto the inside for that first corner. Superhero, ooh, maybe you've taken it a little bit too deep, Sonny, but he keeps it really well. Dudley, I think, still right alongside him, and Dudley, oh my goodness, mate, yeah, had to let on off right there, knowing that that corner is not the easiest place to overtake in that section of the track. I'm gonna pop back into the live stream comments course, 3 people still tuning in. Thank you for watching this extended coverage of the SRS Super Formula World Championship. Now this battle for the lead of this race, super tight and super close. I think Splash just emailed something to me. Oh no, he sent me a text. I'm gonna... Oh, I think Dudley was... he thought he was gonna get squeezed out a little bit as well. These two really... Oh, Doug Barrow! Oh my goodness me, really trying to get back into this main fray, but James Head not too far off, using a bit of that overtake to still stay in the fray of things. At the moment is James Head on board now with the number 7. Backing off a little bit as well, actually to serve that penalty going into turn number 1, not losing a whole lot of time. Doug Barrow up in the lead of this race. James Head in 4th. Dudley 2nd. Superhero 3rd. On board now with the number 7. Dudley now trying to make a move. Oh, and these two have been absolutely feisty with each other. The American versus the old-timer. This is just absolutely insane stuff that we are seeing here from a lot of these guys. Absolutely fine, magnificent stuff from a lot of these guys. Absolutely crazy stuff here, to say the least. Now Superhero still not that far off behind, but he's having to withstand a large chunk of cars right there as James had terrific move for 3rd place. Superhero just, man, he just got out drove right there. Mad stuff as Doug Barrow and Dudley pulling that slipstream train to the right. Choo-choo. Doug Barrow leading the train, being the main conductor. Dudley now, and he's going to go alongside. Man, that is a very tight spot you want to be. Oh my, that is insane stuff right there. Doug Barrow trying to make that move on back. Dudley not having any of it. Trying to keep the lead of this race. James Head and Superhero now going side by side. Marcello now, or Shadow I should say. Oh my goodness. Oh my god. Splash not even that far off as well. And we've only got about 8 minutes of this race left to go. So absolutely fine stuff from a lot of these guys. When James had superlative performance from the Dragon or from earlier on in this stream, he was not kidding, basically, to say the least. Doug Barrow, Dudley, still leading the way. Or other way around, I should say. James Head still in the mix of things. And this is the kind of racing that you usually expect to see in these SRS races. Of course, Dudley's gone a bit too deep into that S's. James Head now going to try up the inside. And I think Dudley was forced off a bit wide, and he was forced very much wide. Oh man, that's kind of the carnage that you don't want to see. And this has now come a 6-car battle for the lead of this race. James Head now leading him off. Doug Barrow going side by side, but is Shadow going to make it 3 wide? And D, I don't know if he is. He's probably going to do so. But Marcello not that far off as well. These cars are scrambling around. And Splash, oh my god, buddy. And Dudley now from... I think Dudley got squeezed out a little bit as well. And Dudley, oh my. And Shadow up to the front of the field now with about less than 7 minutes to go. James Head in 2nd place, still Doug in 3rd, and he picks up a 5/10 penalty with Superhero not that far off. Splash in 5th place. My god, indeed. Dudley now, oh man, really having to play heavy here. And Marcello not that far off as well, using a bit of overtake as well. Got a lot of overtake in that machine at the moment. Splash doesn't have that much overtake left in his number 11 Super Formula machine. Dudley starting to serve a little bit of that penalty at the moment. Doug Barrow had plenty of overtake. So Splash, very uncrucial fumes right now. Is Splash and Dudley going at it once again. And Dudley back down into 7th place. So things are not going the way of Dudley at the moment. And this is... Oh, and I think was he? Oh my goodness me! Very, very close stuff here. Splash trying to follow Splash trying to follow Marcello. Dudley trying to follow Splash or Marcello, and it just didn't want to work in the way that it was kind of expecting it to be. Man, Dudley still trying to put up a fight with about less than 6 minutes to go right there. Shadow still leading the way. James Head not that far off to go. We probably only got about 3 to 4 laps to go left in the sprint running. And what a crazy, crazy race it has been, to say the least. James Head not that far up the pecking order to take the lead of this race. Oh, Argy Bargy with the wheels right there. I don't know how no one didn't even go off the track like in that regard right there. Oh my word, indeed. Absolutely crazy stuff from a lot of these guys. Superhero 1.5 second penalty. Marcello with a half-second penalty into 5th place. Dudley now still in 7th place. Superhero still with that penalty at the moment. This is absolutely crucial stuff here. These two still side by side. Oh, give him the space. My word. Crazy, crazy stuff. James Head trying to be a little bit opportunistic. Use that overtake now. Or, yeah, there you go. Still stay within the range. Shadow starting to use that overtake to still stay ahead. But I think these three are having a battle of their own. Marcello leading Splash. And Splash leading down the Superhero. Having to serve that penalty. And he's going to go dropping magnificently off of the pecking order at the moment. Splash now on absolute fumes right now as Dudley making a move on the inside of the Lithuanian. So the American, oh, and Splash was forced off a little bit wide. Superhero, oh boy, oh, and Splash around. Oh my goodness me, oh my word. You honestly cannot make that up. Forced off wide, trying to keep the car on the, oh man. My, oh my, Splash not having the best of luck at all, unfortunately. Shadow and James still going at it. James Head up in the front. Not that whole lot of time to go. Splash and Bar still going at it. Once again, Dudley back up in the 5th. Marcello 4th. Doug Barrow 3rd. Shadow 2nd. And James Head 1st. This is all far from over at the moment, and it's not over until the fat lady sings. James Head, this has got to be one of the most immaculate performances I've ever seen from James Head do ever since starting to race with him and be on commentator duties with him as well. Shadow and Doug still going at it. Doug Barrow not that far off. James Head actually serving the penalty, almost hitting the side of Doug Barrow. Got to be very, very careful with that because a lot of people are treating that as a draft zone line to serve up their penalties. Shadow, James Head back on the inside of James Head. James Head has got immaculate car control with that number 7 machine right there. Is Doug Barrow pacing the field at the moment. Doug Barrow very, very low on the amount of overtake he has left in that number 13 machine. Shadow now going to try, because he's got more than half of the overtake bar left, and he's got less than 2 minutes to go, so he can pretty much just sit nice and pretty here at the moment. Shadow going wide once again. I think that might give him a half-second penalty for exceeding those track limits a little bit too much. And the game thought it was justifiable, which is a bit of a surprise right there in the Sidemax machine. James Head still in 2nd place. Dudley in 5th, but Marcello 4th. But the most important thing is that Doug Barrow continuing to lead this race with probably, I imagine, what is going to be 1 lap to go in this race. It is far from over. Doug Barrow trying to do what he can to lead James off. Whoever's going to win this race will become a first-time winner of this series, with the exception of Shadow and Marcello. James Head now moving over to the driving line. Doug Barrow having to defend the position. James Head going to try and get the momentum on the outside, giving him plenty of room. Oh, Shadow spun out of 3rd! Oh, but he kept it. Can he keep it? Oh my word, indeed, and Marcello now back up into 3rd place, and Dudley now up into 4th place. And that right there has taken Shadow out of the equation for the race win. It is going to be James Head and Doug Barrow. Which one of these two drivers is going to win for the first time this season at the sprint round of Fuji? Oh my god, these two on fumes with the overtake right now. Less than 10%. You can see the red display. 0.3 up is James Head at the moment. Doug Barrow has got him out a serious challenge and he wants to win this race. He knows he wants it. It's sipping away. Marcello in third place with Dudley in fourth place. Dudley would love to have a podium here today. He's going to use all of that overtake. James Head now. Pump on the overtake right now. Use it all up on up. And coming to the line. Actually, I state that there's going to be one more lap. I thought that was going to be the final lap of this race. Oh my goodness me. It is all far from over. Marcello now having to serve that penalty, and Dudley now back up into third place. This is absolutely far from over. Marcello late dive. Gonna sit on behind, gonna wait for the final lap of this race. Bar 27 will come home for 8th. Razor in 9th. Splash in 10th. This race has gone completely downhill south from Splash super quickly. Oh, yep, he gets the position to tap to give him an extra couple points maybe. Splash in 11th, Olive in 12th. The battle's far from over at the front of the field. A couple of battles right now going on. These cars a little bit split apart, but not that whole far off. James Head fastest lap, 1:22.885. Doug Barrow going a little bit wide out of the Dunlop corner. And so now, in this 15-lap sprint, going to come to a close here for the one final time. James Head now taking the wide line. Use up all that overtake. You've done the hard work. You're gonna come to the line. And for the first time this season in the number 7 Super Formula Red Bull Honda, it will be James Head who will win the sprint race. Doug Barrow in second place. Dudley continuing the performance in third. Marcello and Shadow rounding out the top 5. Petrolhead and Superhero taking out the 6th and 7th cars that do finish on the lead lap. Ladies and gentlemen, if you did enjoy those 4 chaotic races, James Head grabbing his first win of the season, please do leave a like, leave a comment, and if you want to follow us up on the rest of the season, please do subscribe to the SRS Motorsports League YouTube channel, and that allows us to let us know that, hey, we want you guys to keep doing this. Please keep it up. I've been SD_RDZ. Thank you so much to everyone that tuned in, basically flooded the live stream chat. Of course, you guys impressed me so much with all of the love and support. But do keep going with everything here as well. Like I said, I've been SD_RDZ. Congratulations to all of those that raced in Fuji. Congratulations to all of those that raced in Dragon Trail, who got the podium in both races and both got race wins, all in races here today. I've been SD_RDZ, and we'll see you guys next week for round number 5, I believe at Interlagos. Let me double check real quickly just so I have everything in check. Where's it at? Indeed, at Interlagos. So round 5 next week at Interlagos. We'll see you guys next time for round 5 next week of the SRS Motorsports Series Super Formula World Challenge.